And who making all of the money? If you got peace, you ain't making no honey. You ain't getting no money. What you gonna do but smoke them out? Smoke them out. Smoke them out. Smoke them out. Where is the queen bee? She's still flying all over the place on expensive private jets, using taxpayers' money. She ain't care, cause the hive can't make honey if she in there. She forget that we hire she to make honey, so that we could make money. We wanted to know what the workers doing if we hive have no honey. We started a fire to smoke them out, and now getting attacked by stinging bees who were disguised as honeybees. Whoa. So we want to know who the bees working for, who getting all the honey, and who making all of the money. If you got bees who ain't making no honey, you ain't getting no money. What you gonna do but smoke them out? Smoke them out. Smoke them out. Smoke them out. Smoke them out. Oh, yeah. Where is the queen bee? She's still flying all over the place on expensive private jets, using taxpayers' money. She ain't care, cause the hive can't make honey if she in there. She forget that we hire she to make honey, so that we could make money. We wanted to know what the workers doing if we hive had no honey. We started a fire to smoke them out, and now getting attacked by stinging bees who were disguised as honeybees. So we want to know who the bees working for, who getting all the honey, and who making all of the money.
Good evening. Welcome to our Thursday edition of the LPTV. Tonight we have a truly distinguished panel. We're discussing the 15th edition of CARIFESTA, which was held here in Barbados just a few weeks ago. The country has been in the aftermath of that festival, enjoyed by some. Others did not participate at all. But perhaps it was good that Barbados took it on. But in the aftermath, Barbadians are asking, what has been the cost? And that's a legitimate question. And it is a question, along with others, that we're going to ask this panel tonight, and ask ourselves, and invite Barbadians to ask themselves, because it remains an important question, the cost. It is Barbadian taxpayers who paid for it. And in a country where money is short among many, it becomes an even more important question. We have a very strong panel tonight, as we always do. To my far left, young Damien Fanus. I always tell people that Damien is one of Barbados' outstanding past athletes, went through the BDF program, which this government has discontinued. And Damien is also an attorney at law. He's been on this panel quite often. He hosts this show quite often. Damien, welcome to the LPTV.
Thank you very much, Comrade Leader.
Most welcome. I don't know how to introduce the next one. This list is so long. Lecturer at the university, management specialist, business person, well-known credit unionist in Barbados, former Minister of Foreign Affairs and Foreign Trade. I don't think that has been the ultimate. Maxine is still very, very much involved in the public life of this country. A former cabinet minister between 2008 and 2018. Miss McClean, welcome to the show.
Well, thank you very much, and good evening. I'm happy to be here with you. You didn't say retired.
No. No, I did not. You're not retiring here tonight. Our next panelist, former cabinet member as well. We're really coming heavy tonight. Former member of cabinet between 2010, is it, and 2018. I think that's correct. Former Minister of Culture, Youth and Sports. We are coming heavy tonight. Mr. Stephen Lashley is also an attorney at law, senior attorney at law, SC, I think. Congrats on your elevation, and he's doing quite well in practice. We've been begging Stephen to come back to politics. And we've got him here tonight. He's back in politics tonight. And we hope we can get him further into politics. Stephen, welcome.
Thank you, and I'm very happy to be a part of the program.
Always a pleasure. We want to start tonight by looking at the history and origins of CARIFESTA. We think we must tell our viewers something about the festival conceptually and historically. Who's going to take that, Stephen?
Well, I mean,
Man.
yes, thank you. CARIFESTA would have had its origins in 1972 in Guyana. At the time, of course, the story goes that a number of artists, they got together and determined that there should be a cultural outlet for the creators of the Caribbean. And that was the genesis of CARIFESTA.
Started with the artists.
The artists.
I
It
thought
really
it
was
not the politicians.
No,
Oh.
the politicians
great.
then would have caught on afterwards. But
Mm.
this was really the brainchild of Caribbean artists
I see.
in Guyana at the time. That they had a discourse
Mhm.
in relation to having a platform for the creative talents of Caribbean artists.
Mhm.
And that was the origins in 1972. And since then, of course, it has been embraced by CARICOM heads.
Mhm.
And repeatedly over several decades, CARIFESTA has survived. It is seen now to be a very modern expression of Caribbean culture,
Mhm.
Caribbean creativity. Certainly, when I was the minister, I took on certainly a different perspective because I felt that within the context of what we were trying to do in Barbados, in growing the creative sector,
Mhm.
that any expression of our regional identity had to be then the embodiment of the creative sector in terms of mapping out an alternative sector upon which Caribbean economies can diversify.
Mhm.
So that's the context in which CARIFESTA evolved. But CARIFESTA has been embraced across the Caribbean.
Mhm.
All governments have embraced it because, of course, it allowed for the explosion of culture. You had to be fortunate if you were ever someone to be a part of CARIFESTA, because CARIFESTA brought together creators from all over the Caribbean. And in recent times, we have actually invited creative talent from outside the Caribbean.
Mhm.
So you would have seen participants certainly from North America, the UK, and I believe on this occasion there was participation from the African continent. So CARIFESTA really has a very important part to play within our regional reality.
Mhm.
As to how it is managed and so on is really a question for the host country.
Mhm.
But I can tell you that CARICOM has embraced it.
Mhm.
It is an important festival. When we're in office, we consider CARIFESTA to be an important facet of creative development. So in all of my expressions, I've said that certainly CARIFESTA is appreciated.
Mhm.
What we have been looking at is how CARIFESTA has been managed over the years, and in particular how Barbados has managed it. So I believe one of the first things I would like to say to the public is that, you know, the comments that certainly I have made, and certainly the Democratic Party's position, is that we are persons who have, trumpeted the cause of CARIFESTA.
Mhm.
We are in no way making any negative statements about this product. This is the Caribbean product, a
Correct.
regional product. And what we've had to do, though, is to look at questions relating to the expenditure,
Mhm.
because the questions were asked and have not to date been answered.
Oh.
I was held to a very high standard when I was Minister of Culture.
Mhm.
I had a lot of things being said about CARIFESTA by the now government. Many of them were basically comments that were negative,
Yeah. Critical.
but without foundation.
Yes.
Because I can say boldly that we had a very successful CARIFESTA in 2017.
Mhm.
We were able to get the support of the Caribbean, our colleagues, CARICOM ministers of culture. We met in Guyana for the COSOD, and
For the-
COSOD, which is the
Council.
regional ministerial meeting
I see.
of
Okay.
ministers of culture.
Mhm.
And at that meeting, I spoke to our colleagues in
Mhm.
relation to how CARIFESTA should be promoted. And we agreed among ourselves that we were ready At that time, Barbados had enacted the Culture Industry Development Act,
Yes.
a bold statement of the confidence of the government in creative talent. For the first time in the history of Barbados, creative talent in Barbados had access to incentives just like any other sector, and it was done in a way that was catered to the development of talent. And they were complaining for years that incentives were granted to other sectors and not to the creative sector. And I recall certainly being at a town hall meeting in which, when I was talking about the act, the creators were saying, "Well, Minister, we hear you." But we have heard that from so many other ministers in the past.
And
They
the pressure
were
was
very,
on you.
of course, they were very, very low confidence in whether this culture industry development.
How did you
bill.
respond to that pressure?
Well, I said simply, well, watch the space. And I responded to the challenge. I said, I give you a commitment that this legislation will be enacted. And I remembered when I introduced the bill in Parliament, the entire public gallery was filled. You had no space.
This is the
I was touched
cultural.
by the fact that so many artists came down to Parliament.
Yes. What was the name of that legislation?
The Culture Industry
Cultural
Development
Industries.
Act.
Right. Okay.
The entire public gallery was filled.
With
With
artists.
artists.
Yes.
They came down in their numbers to show support. And as I delivered that introductory speech, I was proud, and I had made a commitment. I kept the commitment, and I was very happy to smile at them and say, "Well, you see, I said I was going to do it, and here it is now today."
We're going to dub you the father of the creative industries. A young father.
But understand this, and Maxine will tell you, I challenge my colleagues oftentimes to not only speak about what we were doing for the creative talent, but to embody it within action. The legislation that had to be mobilized, had to be activated. We would have put in place a culture industries development authority.
Yes.
We didn't say that this would fall under the Ministry of Culture or under the NCF. We felt that if we were pushing this sector, we needed to give it its own authority,
Yes.
a dedicated authority with a board, with professionals who themselves could be the interceders, because you're talking about creating incentives versus importing cultural goods into Barbados. If you want to import a keyboard, if you want to import whatever, with collaboration from the customs department and so on, we had a team by which we were guaranteeing that this would not be red tape. So the
What about
culture
concessions,
industries,
apart from red tape?
but the concessions were granted.
Were granted.
The
yes.
authority was responsible for granting the concessions, and I can tell you that in many cases, I didn't know who were granted concessions because it was not supposed to operate at that
At the
level.
ministerial
The
level.
role of the minister was to enunciate policy,
Yes.
create the legislative framework, and allow the authority to function.
Allow the authority. Yes.
So when
yes.
persons came to me as a minister, we got a grant, we got concessions, we got this. Oh, that's great, fantastic. But of late, I am hearing some very interesting and unfortunate things, because artists are complaining and saying they're very. We are in an environment in which persons are not keen on speaking. And for good reason, because I was on a program where artists were complaining. We're not getting their incentives, nobody ain't talking to us. And if you get something, you have to be liked by certain people.
Yes.
So I said, well, why aren't you speaking out about this in Barbados?
Yeah.
They said to me, but they still call me minister. I had to remind him that no longer. But they said, well, if you speak out, you probably will get hurt. So we are having an environment now in which, unless you are going to part of the choir, you're not going to get incentives. Now, the difference between what we did in creating a dedicated authority, and it was very saddened to learn that while the Cultural Industry Development Act is still on statute books, the current government has literally dismantled the structure.
Yes.
And put all of that under the NCF
NCF,
that is already saddled.
Yes.
And nowadays, with all the events that the NCF has to manage, including the what is the way the getting together? What's it called? Regathering, Prop and all the other things that they have to plan. They really and they have no time to really plan on the cultural industries.
Yes.
And that's really sad.
Stephen, I want to ask as well, and I'm coming to you shortly, Maxine. You mentioned CARICOM more than once.
Yes.
Has the festival reached beyond CARICOM? Let's say I'm thinking Guadeloupe, Martinique.
Yes, it has.
I
It
think
has.
Cuba hosted at one point.
I believe
78
so.
was it,
I
Maxine?
believe
think
so.
so. I think so. if
Yeah,
I
so it has
remember correctly.
reached
It has
beyond
reached. It has
CARICOM.
reached. And I did say, for example, that
Mhm.
we have had delegations from outside of the English-speaking Caribbean.
Good.
Being a part of CARIFESTA. In fact, during the opening ceremony of CARIFESTA 13,
Mhm.
you had delegations coming through, walking through that parade in Bridgetown
Mhm.
from outside of CARICOM.
I
So
see.
we've embraced them because they're part of we consider them brothers and sisters within
Mhm.
the cultural movement as well.
Maxine, more than once, Stephen used the word management. And I said, I have to come to our management specialist.
Mhm.
Is this festival something that one country should properly by itself manage, or would you want joint management among?
I think basically there's a pretty much a useful template type situation that can be applied.
Mhm.
As host country, you choose to signal to the rest of the CARICOM that you want to host it because you're capable of hosting
Yes,
it. We have
yes.
done it. This is the third time. What I find interesting, and to answer the question, I will speak a little bit about what happened for CARIFESTA 13 and 27.
Yes.
It was organized, it was well budgeted, it was well presented. And
Mhm.
as Stephen pointed out,
Mhm.
the criticisms were not about the content, not about the process and the delivery.
Mhm.
It was in the case of the opposition and specifically the Prime Minister. If you go back to the news media, you will see her comments.
Mhm.
It was intended to score cheap political points.
Yes.
But at
yes.
the end of the day, if you dissect what happened in 2017, you would see an organizational arrangement or set of arrangements that properly managed the festival, CARIFESTA.
Mhm.
For example, Stephen, as minister, would have appointed, in fact, he chaired what I would describe as the planning committee,
Mhm.
because it was important to establish a proper team for the purpose of delivering CARIFESTA.
Mhm.
I am not sure that we had that. And it is a model that was used
You're not sure we had that
this
on
year.
this occasion. Yes.
Yeah, this year. It is a model that we use. Let's say, for example, in 2016, when we celebrated our 50th anniversary of
Mhm.
independence, there was a team put together, a coordinating committee, massive committee,
Mhm.
bringing together public officials, etc., chaired by myself and,
Mhm.
well, co-chaired with former Minister Esther Bayasuku.
Yes.
And we worked with a secretariat, with a budget, with proper approvals, with an accountant assigned to the secretariat to ensure that we properly accounted for funds. So
Mhm.
when we talk about management and you know, I was bemused, amused,
You shuddered.
but
Okay.
a good word. I shuddered. I was ashamed, even when I heard the Prime Minister proudly announce, "We still pay bills."
Let
So
let me quote her, Maxine.
please do.
Nation News, September 15th. She's quoted as saying, and we quote, proper accounting will be provided after the vendors are paid. 1981 cost 24 million, which translates to 97 million. Now that's her statement. We did not spend that much. So she's
Well,
saying she did not spend as much as
98
97.
million.
Yes, as much as 98
Well, I
million.
think
But
take
proper
off
accounting will
the
be provided.
90, take off, subtract from the 98, the 90, and you would come close to what would have been spent, what would have been spent in 2017. And
Mhm.
you know, I must say, you asked me about
2017 was 8 million US.
It was 8 million Barbados.
8 million
Barbados.
Barbados, 4 million US.
Yes.
Okay.
And so if you subtract 90 million, because I presume the 98 million is Barbados, she's talking
Mhm.
about, the Prime Minister's talking about.
Mhm.
But to be very serious, I find that statement offensive. And I will be very blunt in my comments on this, because
Mhm.
I'm seeing too much said. And as you say, there's somebody who's trained in management and who would have taught a number of persons, including the current cabinet secretary. I must point out, because she's high up on the totem pole. in all seriousness, how can you seriously say to Barbadians, we still adding up, we still paying? If I'm paying bills, I should know before the fact what bills I have to pay.
Well, let me quote her September 6th Nation News, and I quote, full costs will be revealed once all assessments are completed. Let us hear from the management specialist on
So
that statement.
what the Prime Minister is saying to me,
Mhm,
and one of the things you might not know as a management specialist,
mhm.
I contemplated being an accountant when I first got back from graduate school.
So there's a difference there.
So I like both. I dabbled in both accounting and management.
Mhm.
But you're saying that full cost. So in essence, you're telling me you don't know what it
You don't
costed us.
know.
You don't know. You didn't have a plan as to what it should cost us. No, that is problematic, and that is not consistent with the expected practice
Mhm.
of government finances and government
Yes,
spending. We
yes.
have rules, and in fact, you can probably, Stephen can probably speak to this more than me, but we have rules. There are rules, and as a parliamentarian,
Mhm,
you would be
mhm,
familiar.
mhm. Yes.
You know, we have you're the chairman of the Public Accounts Committee. You might not get a chance to meet if they won't give you a quorum because you'll be stuck. But in all seriousness, you cannot, you should not. It is not expected that we have this kind of what I call
Lack of accountability.
and then a very flippant
Mhm.
way of dismissing the
it.
public
Yes,
when we
yes.
ask questions. That's
Yes.
crazy.
In fact, what I said when it was asked the question was that, in short, what the Prime Minister is saying to the country is that when we're ready to tell you about the cost of CARIFESTA,
Don't ask me nothing.
It's part of the rules. Stephen,
It's
I'm
part
going
of
to
the
come to you
Yeah.
about the rules shortly, but I want to ask Damien. Damien, how is all this touching you as a citizen? This this dismissive manner, really, of the government. Recounting. Wait on us. We're going to come to you at some point.
This is for me. This is par for the course because I mean, where do we even begin when it comes to how this government treats the Barbadian people when it comes to information, accountability, transparency?
Mhm.
There seems to be none. So then, obviously, the Barbadian public should know how much CARIFESTA costs,
Mhm.
and you would expect that there was some form of proper planning, some form of proper follow-up in regards to maybe even cost overruns or what's not, so that even if you put a ballpark figure out there, you can then come and say, well, we will present the full breakdown of the cost to you at Parliament.
Yes.
We don't even get that much. So what more can we say other than that this government it just has taken a very, very dismissive stance.
Yes.
They don't consult with the people, and if you dare to ask, you're brushed off.
Yeah.
So it's almost disrespectful to a point that these people have not even they've taken the role of government representative, the people, and they've basically just turned it upside its head. And they're saying, oh no, we are your bosses, we are your managers.
Yes.
And you cannot
Demand.
question the managers our stance or how we operate or our procedures.
When we're ready.
When we're ready, we will get to you. And I have a very, very, very I sometimes I'm very lost for words when it comes to this government, because I come here and I wax poetic about how disrespectful they are to the Barbadian people, and I can say that this is just a long line of dismissive actions on their part.
Yeah.
And really, truly, as a citizen, it rubs me the wrong way, and I cannot continue to sit here and listen to them dismiss us, not only behind closed doors, but in the media as well, which means that you don't care about what we think.
Yeah. Stephen, I want you to tell our audience about the rules that pertain to government spending, including this CARIFESTA event.
Right, of course.
Yes, please.
And that is what was more surprising, because I recall in 2019, the government went to Parliament and enacted some very interesting legislation. It was based on accountability, the Public Finance Management Act of 2019. It actually would have repealed the previous legislation, which was the Finance and Audit Act.
Yes.
Which was itself intend to keep public financial management at a very high standard. I think the government at the time felt they should have new legislation because it was sending a signal to the country
Yes.
that this new government will not go down the road of slack management
Wastage.
and wastage.
Yes. Yes. I think it may have been a response to the IMF
And the
as
IMF
well.
too.
Yes.
The legislation was tightened to some extent. I believe a provision was still repeated in there where if there's unbudgeted financing or
Mhm.
if there is engagement in spending that was not approved,
Yes.
then the director of finance can surcharge whoever that public officer is, and that
Mhm.
extended to CEOs
Mhm.
of of statutory corporations and so on. So the rules are there; they're very stringent. In fact, the government under this legislation is required on an annual basis, as you know,
Yes.
to table in Parliament a very special report, and that report will give the country a synopsis of what has happened in terms of whether or not the rules were actually adhered to.
Mhm.
And the report is actually set out in a schedule in the Act. It's a
Mhm.
very, very specific report. And that report is tabled in Parliament on an annual basis. It is meant to keep the government very, very, very compliant.
Yes.
So that's why within the context of the Prime Minister's disclosure to Barbadians, that in fact she said that it would be very irresponsible
Mhm.
of the government to disclose the cost of CARIFESTA when in fact people were still being paid. Now what that said to me was that the Minister of Finance,
Mhm.
the substantive Minister of Finance, was telling the country one that there was no budget
Correct.
for CARIFESTA, because
Yeah.
if there was a budget, then she would be able to say to the country, well, the budget for CARIFESTA
Mhm.
15 was X amount of water community.
Whether we've got over.
And therefore, at this juncture, because the financial rules require you to keep track of your budget.
That's right.
So whoever the minister is or whoever the relevant individual ought to be able at a snapshot
Mhm.
to say to journalists in a media conference, the budget is X at this point in time based on our last accounting, we have expended X. We don't have a final figure yet,
Mhm.
but I can understand an answer like that. If
Yeah.
you're saying to me that at this juncture, we are at X amount community, Prime Minister said, well, we can't tell you because we're still paying people.
So what you're telling us, Stephen,
We
is
don't
that
know.
there has been no disclosure of a budget. The Barbadians have not heard
We have not
Maxine.
heard of
No.
a budget.
Yeah.
I've asked the question,
You've asked the question.
and there has been no disclosure.
No
of a budget.
disclosure of a budget.
And that is the problem. Now, I can make some speculations
Mhm.
as to why the government may not be in a position to give the country a budget or even an estimate of spend.
Mhm.
Because unlike 2017, I can tell you we had a very strict approach to
Mhm.
spending in CARIFESTA.
Yes.
In fact, we were going through the world's worst recession. We did not have all the money to spend in the world, but we wanted to put on a good proper CARIFESTA. What we did, and you'll be interested to know that 8 million Barbados dollars that we spent, included in that, was the total refurbishment of the Queen's Park building.
I was coming to that. You budgeted
Yes,
4 million US. Let's say 8 million Barbados
right.
in 2017.
In 2017,
And you kept within that.
we kept within that budget. We kept within that budget,
Mhm.
and we were able to
Including
deliver,
the Queen's Park
including Queen's Park
refurbishment. Yeah.
refurbishment.
Mhm.
We refurbished many of the performance centers of several secondary schools
Yes.
because our intent was that once CARIFESTA was finished,
Legacy.
the legacy of ensuring that our young people who we want to be involved in
Yes.
creative industries had facilities that they could practice their
Mhm.
art and skill.
Mhm.
And Barbadians will recall that we also planned, with the assistance of the People's Republic of China, in advance of CARIFESTA, to ensure that we had a gymnasium, which is the Garfield Service Gymnasium, that
Mhm.
was totally refurbished. We refurbished the gymnasium at a cost. It was not a cost to the Barbadian taxpayer because it was a gift by the People's Republic of China.
Yes.
They expended approximately $18 million
Mhm.
to do a complete refurbishment of the gymnasium. And we
Mhm.
wanted to do it so that by the time CARIFESTA was hosted, we were able to have a spanking new facility. And in fact, we came in on time
Mhm.
and we were able to have many of the CARIFESTA events in the gymnasium.
Mhm.
Am I hearing Stephen say, Maxine, that the government may be flouting the rules of the
Yes, I would believe
certainly the
so.
spirit?
Yes.
And possibly the rules of the act.
The
Yes.
only thing we have seen is a provision in the estimates, and I think they put in the figure
It
from
was about-
2017. It was 4
yes.
million.
Yes.
But no, the 4 million, half
It
of
was
the
2
amount.
million.
It was
I think it was
four. I just looked
four?
at the number.
Yes,
4
okay,
million
yes.
was put in the budget.
Which budget?
Sorry, the
I mean, the
estimates, not the
The,
budget.
the estimates, yes.
But
This
we
year,
have, yes,
so they were using the previous festival
part
as
of
a
that.
template.
Yeah, part of that,
Mhm.
because if we would have spent 8 million and they would have included a provision for 4 million, but that's not a budget.
Yeah.
That is a provision,
Mhm.
a financial
Allocation.
provision, an
Mhm.
allocation, and so on. But you still should have. Now, my whole question is, who was managing
Mhm.
the financials? Because at the end of the day, based on what Stephen has said, and remember, it is this administration that tightened up the rules,
Precisely.
but they're now floating the very rules that they have tightened. And that, to my mind, is a very bothersome
Maxine,
situation.
it's not the government giving the impression that budgeting is somehow impossible in this event.
Well, from the way the Prime Minister is speaking, it is as if we will spend money,
Mhm.
and when we get around to figuring out how much money we have spent, we will tell you. And it worries me because I listened to one of our talk show hostesses, who's a female,
Mhm.
and her comment, because this matter was raised by the public,
Mhm.
and her response was, we had a very good CARIFESTA, so I believe it was money well spent. Now, my
Mhm.
first question to her, if I had been able to get through, I was trying to call her, was, do you have a clue as to how much money was spent?
Exactly.
Because it can only be money well spent if you are able to assess the cost and the benefits.
Mhm.
And clearly, if we do not know, if they do not know what it costs, if they cannot even tell you that we projected to spend 8 or 10 or 20, or as the Prime Minister said, maybe 100 million, and then there's a cost overrun of 10%, you need to have that information. As I said, we would have participated in events. Stephen would have cheered and managed CARIFESTA 13. I would have coordinated the activities, year activities for our 50th anniversary. In fact, when we talk about spendthrift behavior,
Mhm. Mhm.
we gather in, but we're not going to digress, but we gather in as a classic example. The
example,
difference
yes.
is that we see in the estimates a single figure, but scattered across the estimates, as we would have discussed previously, are allocations for the gathering, which is which is more
Yeah, they spread it across several
ridiculous
ministries.
in terms of expenditures. But Stephen made a point, and I reiterate, to answer your question again,
Mhm.
we are not we, the government is floating. We are seeing a floating of the rules and the law by not being able to say this is what was provided for, this is what's accounted for, and it is ironic that the very persons who tighten the law
Mhm.
are happy to break it.
I heard you use the word project.
Mhm.
Can we then say to the public that it was entirely possible to project costs?
Yes, you have,
Because the public is being given the impression the thing
but-
was all over the place
but you
and you could not project costs.
no, you
So
can
then
project costs.
You can project costs.
Because
That's what I
mean,
wanted to hear.
Stephen would have talked about refurbishment. Now there was new construction
Mhm.
of something
By Newton.
by Newton. I
Please
said,
don't laugh.
I will laugh because people tell me I always look too serious. I always look vexed. So I will,
I enjoy my everyday, but
no, but I saw it as recently as last week. Now there must be some projected expenditure on that. When
There
the
must.
architects design it, a quantity surveyor would be involved, and valuers would have been there to calculate how much would be expended on that.
Mhm.
And then, of course, we could do it for what happened at the botanical gardens and all of these things. I mean, you're telling me you just go there and call contractor John Brown or whoever and say, build something and bill me later?
I have something else to tell you on that.
Well,
Steve,
go ahead.
Supposing I say to you that the Newton construction, for example,
Right.
or let me put it the other way. Supposing I invited you to ask the question, did that go to tender?
And I would be interested to hear the answer.
And if you heard that no, I am not giving the answer. I'm going to give both. If you heard on the one hand that it did not go up to tender,
Yes.
what would be your response?
I would
Further
I would-
floating.
First of all, I will be very appalled.
You'd be
And
appalled.
I'll be appalled, and I would be saying, because I've said in other spaces that I certainly welcome the idea of performing arts center
Oh, we all do.
as former Minister of Culture in the Barbadians.
Mhm.
But it cannot be based on the whims and fancies of the government determining that it will just do it and without any kind of proper analysis and structure,
Mhm.
financing or
Mhm.
otherwise. So,
Mhm.
in fact, someone said to me that they thought they saw two structures go up at very short notice. It was that the structure at Newton
Yes.
and also the structure at Watford.
Mhm.
You almost woke up and see these things, and there was no announcement, there was no indication. Because certainly, if the Auditor General had to audit CARIFESTA
Mhm.
15, some of the questions I can imagine the Auditor General will be asking is whether or not these projects went out to tender,
Mm-hmm.
whether or not they were approved funds,
Mhm. Mhm.
allocated and approved by Parliament.
Yes.
If that was not so, then somebody had this garden of road. I mean, not saying that these are not desirable,
Yes.
but you can't do it in breach
You
of the
can't.
financial rules.
Precisely. Precisely.
Because we were taken to task about this, we were told that we don't adhere to no rules. This is what this government said when they came into office.
It was
Yeah.
So
not
one
true.
would have expected that if this was their major critique,
Precisely.
that I should not be having to ask the question, where is the approvals? Where are the approvals? Where are they? And what really surprised me, I remember I was called by a media host to respond to this issue, but I did make the statement and asked about the budget. And a media host did a follow-up call to me. And I said to them, but you're asking me this, but did you attend press conferences of the government and ask the questions about the budget? And they said, yes, we went, but then nobody answered saying nothing. And I want to read a part of one of the newspapers that I saw.
Mhm. Mhm.
I can call it because it's public information.
Call the name of the newspaper, please.
Barbados Today, because they're the ones who called me, and part of that item carried on the 2nd of September said this: when Barbados Today sought details about the cost,
Give us the date again, please, Stephen.
the 2nd of September,
September.
2025.
Thank you.
When Barbados Today sought details about the cost of CARIFESTA Grand Market,
Mhm.
the Barbados Tourism Investment Inc. directed inquiries to the local organizing committee. Imagine that. And it goes further. It says calls to the festival director,
Mhm.
the chief executive officer of the National Culture Foundation, Carol Roberts,
Mhm.
went unanswered.
Really?
And it goes further. Barbados Today says throughout the planning and the staging of the event, neither Roberts nor ministerial officials gave the media any answers to questions about the festival's price tag.
And you know, the public
That's
must not
that's it.
ever believe that the government owes merely a moral obligation.
Of
This
course.
is a legal obligation.
yeah,
The
yeah.
government has to say.
Of course. And when I read that, I mean, it's not Stephen Lashley asking the government only. The media was
Media,
asking.
precisely.
And they
which
said,
is the
I
guardian.
recall somebody said to me that when they asked the question, it was like as though the question was never asked. It was totally ignored and dismissed.
Precisely.
And I have seen at least one prime minister in Barbados
Mhm.
took a decision to dismiss a minister who ignored a legitimate request for answers
Yeah.
by an opposition leader.
Yes.
Mhm.
Yes.
He felt sufficiently aggrieved
Mhm. Mhm.
by ignoring a constitutional appointed question,
Yes.
appointee's question,
Yes.
in that you dismiss this thing. So I'm saying that if the media could be dismissed in terms of asking legitimate questions about the public finances,
Yes.
and that is why I brought into question the Public Financial Management Act.
Yes. Yes.
Because if you're saying that this has happened, then I hope that there will be an expose in relation to the financial management of CARIFESTA 15,
Mhm.
and that the Auditor General's office is paying keen attention, very keen attention.
You mentioned the
what
Auditor
is
General's office.
Is there still an Auditor General office?
That is what I was coming to Maxine
Okay,
about.
I'm just asking.
There's a gentleman who is very, very concerned. I'm not going to call his name. He continues to write on Facebook about the crisis of the absence of an Auditor General. The gentleman has retired,
He is retired. There's no one
and
appointed yet.
there's no one in the office now. This is constitutional office,
It's a constitutional.
Yes, it is.
and it is vacant. Constitutional office cannot be vacant.
Cannot be vacant.
Maxine.
Well, we clearly are breaking all kinds of rules now, and I hope it cannot be with impunity, that it
Mhm.
has to be addressed. And I
Yes.
think, in fact, let us start by raising it here right now
Mhm.
and remind Barbadians that the post of Auditor General is a constitutional office. I would
Yes.
leave it to you,
Mhm.
legal
It's enshrined.
You
minds.
got a legal mind
It
next
is
to you.
Sorry,
enshrined.
in fact, I would,
Highly
yes, let
protected
me,
under the Constitution.
so I would ask you, Damien, to explain the significance of a constitutional office and the implications as Comrade Rav said, it's a position that should be filled.
Right.
What are your
It
thoughts
is
about
never
that?
vacant.
Yeah, it's never.
It's
Right.
never vacant
This is
in
not-
law. Yes, David.
This is
please.
not a position that where you can just say, oh, I don't feel like filling this today.
Precisely.
You know, it is something that's mandated by law.
Mhm.
So
Mhm.
if there's a vacancy and you refuse to fill it, then you're running afoul of the
Precisely.
law. So means then that
Precisely.
you're not even following your own checks and balances.
Mhm.
So then the Auditor General now is the person who would provide that deep investigative, research into how the accounts are being run, the fiscal mandates and so on. And he produces those reports to keep tracks of government spending.
Mhm.
So then if he's not there to show you how government is spending its money, whether the wastage is or whether there's misfeasance or even malfeasance in regards to the public purse,
Mhm.
then there's nobody watching the government. There's nobody to hold the government accountable or to even bring that information to the people. So then when you have a government that refuses to fill that position, knowing that it's constitutionally mandated, then this government has basically told themselves, well, we are a law unto ourselves.
Mhm.
And not even the people can hold us accountable.
Stephen, I hinted at it earlier. Coming to you shortly, Derek. I hinted at it earlier. You budgeted 8 million.
Yes.
Did you go back for
No,
the Parliament?
I must say we had budgeted lesser figure, I think 6 million.
6 million?
And then we went
Barbados.
back, yes, 6
You
million.
went,
Barbados.
that's
We
my
went back for
question
top
because
up.
I want us to
We
be
went
open
back,
on
we
this.
went back for a top up.
Mhm. To Parliament.
Because to the Parliament. And
And
then
they
of
call
course
it a
ultimately.
SAP.
Yes, yes.
SAP.
No, I'll tell you this though, because not many Barbadians remember that
Mhm.
in 2017, CARIFESTA,
Yes.
the minute that we were having the opening, just before the opening ceremony was planned, Barbados was impacted by a tropical storm.
Mhm.
Mhm.
And that tropical storm disrupted everything in CARIFESTA.
Mhm.
The entire calendar, we had about 512 events
Mhm.
in CARIFESTA, 512
512.
compacted within a 10-day period.
Mhm.
And there was a very specific calendar per delegation. We have over 30 something delegations
Mhm.
in Barbados.
Mhm.
We were hosting them. And the tropical storm disrupted the entire activity. And I remember saying to the public that I was so touched and impressed
Yes.
by the creativity of our management team.
Who managed your festival in 2017? NCF?
No, it was managed by a separate coordinating committee.
Oh,
And
yes.
we took that decision because we were concerned that the NCF could not manage simultaneously
I see.
two major
I see.
festivals,
Yeah,
Crop
Crop
Over
Over.
and CARIFESTA.
Yes.
So
Yes.
therefore, we brought that within a separate structure.
Mhm.
But that team was able to unravel and put together CARIFESTA within a matter of a few days, so that delegations were able to flawlessly,
Mhm.
after the storm,
Yes.
move right into their program.
You did the
Mhm.
512 event
Mhm.
Yes,
spite of the
yes, yes.
storm.
And in fact, we had
at
something
$6
called
million.
Yes,
512 events.
well, at $8 million in all
8 million.
total, but out of that was in capital.
Oh
spend.
yeah, you got 6. You budgeted 6.
Yes, and then we
Went
had to
back
go
for the
back for top.
supplemental.
But
Yes.
we did that too because of the impact of the storm.
Mhm.
We had some extra expenditure because of the storm, and therefore we had to go back
Right,
again.
right. You see,
Yeah.
we want to emphasize, Stephen, and I
Yeah.
want you to emphasize
Mhm.
that you did 512 events over the same
Yeah.
10-day period
Of course, the same time.
for $8 million.
Yes, and we had something called a creative fringe.
Tell us about
The
it.
creative fringe were meant to penetrate communities in Barbados,
Mhm.
where there was creative talent, persons who were doing activities, and we allow them to structure an activity, brand it with
Mhm.
CARIFESTA, and provide a sort of technical assistance
Yes.
to allow for communities to be a part of CARIFESTA.
Mhm.
I don't know if you remember, there was a creative fringe point right in Bay Street.
I don't actually.
They don't remember, but that was set up.
They
What-
just don't remember 2070. The very
That's what-
facetious
and
comment.
we have a duty to remind Barbadians because sometimes Barbadians forget this.
I was overseas in
You were
2070. Yeah. I
But
was
we had
overseas.
one of these focal sites on Bay Street where we set up all of the, in other words, we set up proper facilities, equipment, and everything. And artists from different areas of Barbados just had to present themselves and perform.
Really?
And they were not in the
This
official
is
delegation.
opposite government headquarters.
Yeah.
I wasn't here in
They were
2070.
not.
I
They
was
were not in the
overseas,
official
so-
delegations.
Uh-huh.
But we felt that that was important to give creative expression.
So it was a
to
kind of
persons.
spontaneous.
Yes, a spontaneous
Excellent.
place, and they came and performed and so on.
Mhm.
So we had 512 events, and then we had the creative fridge.
Mhm.
It's a mammoth undertaking. CARIFESTA is a mammoth undertaking. You have to be able to manage it well, and keep within budget. Keep within budget and manage a festival with various delegations in Barbados. So imagine, I think, and this government never had to do that. They never had to respond to a storm situation that disrupted your
Yes.
calendar
Yes. Yes.
and scheduling,
Yes.
and then get it back up. And I give kudos to that team. They did a phenomenal job.
We have two former members of cabinet, Minister of Foreign Affairs, Minister of Culture. We have a lawyer, Stephen is a lawyer as well. We welcome to the panel a sociologist, Dr. Derek Alleyne. And Derek, I don't know how much of it you've heard, but the point Stephen is making, and Maxine and Damien, government seems unwilling to give proper accounting. Why do you think the government, I'm going to accuse them in a very unabashed way of hiding the numbers. If you agree with me, why do you think government is concealing these numbers from the public?
Let me first apologize.
That's fine, that's fine, that's fine.
Due to the excellent bus service we have. It was supposed to be a 3:30 bus from
You should know better than
Chalky
that.
Mount, 4:30, and we had to be on 5:30.
Wow.
From Chalky Mount.
Chalky Mount.
On my way down, I spoke to a lady from Shuri Village.
Mm.
She says, interesting. I stopped at the automark to buy a drink. And she says, but I wrote to you and complained to you. I live down in the bottom of St. Andrew, and the Shuri Village bus
Mhm.
is bypassing us when it comes. So it's interesting. You're coming from St. Andrew. Don't know what you were doing up there
Horrible
this evening.
experience. Horrible-
but,
horrible experience,
We excuse you for your
yeah.
lateness.
I don't know where you
Why
are.
are they hiding the numbers?
I don't think that anybody should be surprised.
Mm.
It's a pattern.
Mhm.
The leader of the opposition accuses the government of $60 million from court.
Mhm.
Prime Minister makes a big statement.
Mhm.
The
Investigation.
Investigation.
18 months later, what happened?
Only
Investigation.
Prime Minister is investigated.
And we bring it to the Public Accounts Committee, and they say, no, we're not discussing that. And vote me.
The Prime Minister
Stephen, you
gets
laugh.
Barbados wrapped up in a matter of the vaccine.
Mhm.
Up to the we don't know what the matter costs Barbadians,
Mhm. Mhm.
what money the taxpayers had to pay.
Precisely.
And the Prime Minister is fine.
Mhm.
That's not the public's business.
And the public must accept it.
I'm gonna accept it.
Mhm.
And you can bring a list. The list goes on
Mhm.
this Prime Minister. We had this structure up on Newton.
Mhm. Yes.
Nobody
Yeah.
knows what it costs.
Mm.
There's no budget for it.
No, some people don't know what it is.
What it is. So it is as though this financial administration and management
Mhm.
is a new system
Yes.
being operated by this government.
Mhm.
There's no need to do a budget and submit it, take it to parliament, get it approved,
Mhm.
itemize it
Mhm.
so that you can see where you need support,
Mhm.
where you're going to overspend, and so that is not the form of financial administration our Prime Minister and this government believes should be part of their remit.
I had a question here, Derek. Do you think we got value for money? But if we don't know how much money we spent, we can't speak about value, Maxine. So that question we have to leave that one outside the off stump. But
What I can tell you is
yes,
that
there.
there's been a lot of PR,
Mhm.
how successful,
Oh, the usual, yeah.
that happened. But I had conversations with some of the volunteers who said that the first 2 days, the volunteers were presented with a package. They told them what they were going to get, what to expect.
Mhm.
So they're supposed to get meals, stipend,
Mhm.
transportation provided. But the third day, the meal came down to start operate.
Mhm. Mhm.
It went from protein, vegetables, start, dessert, the first 2 days,
Mhm.
down to bread, cake, and pastries by the third day.
Mhm. Mhm.
And I guys sent me pictures of the plate,
Mhm.
with what they were getting.
Mhm.
There was confusion about who was allocated where. And it was total chaos. Don't get me that
Yeah.
the building in Newton
Mhm.
was never completed, was never
Still is
ready, still is not ready. Waterford was confusion.
I'm going to take you to the building in Newton, and I have developed this peculiar way of asking Stephen questions. If I say to you there, and Stephen, you can come in. If I say to you that the building in Newton is supposed to be partially dismantled, that's what I'm hearing. I don't state that as a fact, but it is there, and I'm told that it is supposed to be partially dismantled. That it was put up partially, and there's a cost putting up partially dismantling. How would you respond to
I
that?
would just make the comment that
It adds to the cost for
when,
sure.
when the market in the hall,
Oh, yes, was
my good friend Chris said that he was coming to Eagle Hall.
uh-huh.
He stopped at the traffic light and he heard the horns beeping, beeping. And then he didn't catch it. He was so amazed by the structure. He couldn't understand what it was.
The half a building.
Yeah.
Yeah.
This one is worse. So to hear that it's going to be dismantled is not surprising.
I say partially.
But I don't care if you take off 2 meters. It looks.
You've seen it there.
Oh yeah, man, it's sick to be.
I asked Maxine not to laugh when we talk about it, and she keeps laughing.
It is. You see, if you don't laugh, you would cry. Because the question I would ask myself, what exactly is it intended to?
Futuristic.
It's futuristic, but I look at it
Mhm.
and I see timber, I see lumber, I see wood, and I think of our climate,
Mhm.
hurricane season. Stephen mentioned having to deal with a hurricane, and it seems as though it's our lot. The day or 2 days, was it the 2 days before the state funeral of the Prime Minister Thompson?
Yeah.
We had to deal, I think it was Hurricane Thomas at the time.
Yeah.
And the destruction that you saw, this wasn't this was not a full-blown hurricane that we experienced then.
Right.
And I passed that structure and I asked myself, if we get winds at 90 miles per hour, 100 miles per hour, category 3 or 4, God forbid, will we have timber flying all over Barbados? I read something and it sounded really nice
Mhm.
about
Oh,
the way that the pieces were fitted together. There was no
Yes.
metal
It
and
was
all of
supposed
that.
to be based on some Japanese
Yeah,
concept.
yes.
Yeah, I saw that.
And I said to myself, how much did it cost to get that? What, it is an architect's fantasy
Mhm.
and dream. I've read about the architect who was supposed to work on that. He has a good international, well, I presume that he's responsible for the entire thing. Has a good international reputation in terms of his work.
Mhm.
But flights of fantasy,
Mhm.
because it could be both,
Oh.
are not necessarily what you can agree with as a client. The government of Barbados and whoever sat with them, the team or the individual, would have to think in terms of the practicality of it.
Mhm. Mhm.
And I'm seeing something, and you're telling me partly dismantled. So it was there for sure, a Lego piece put together. You know,
Apparently something is to be added, and they
No,
have
but
to take off something to add this.
because what they're doing was clearly rushed,
Mhm.
and it probably was not part of the original plan.
Mhm.
And it is just an element of the wastage that cannot be accounted for yet.
Precisely.
And that's a very good point because I made that point too. I happen to know because I've actually asked questions in relation to the both projects, both the one at Newton
Mhm.
and the one at the stadium over
Right.
there in Waterford.
Common area.
But and the notion of a performing arts center is excellent.
It's great.
Yes.
Yeah. The artists need
I
it.
would not in any way say that we don't want need a performing arts center. My concern has been that leading up to CARIFESTA because you were actually rushing. You
Mhm.
actually
Yeah.
had a number of contractors on the job,
Mhm.
working 24 hours
Yes, they used to work at night.
at night with lights going,
Yes,
disturbing people in terms of their rest and so on. It
Mhm.
was that's not what a modern democracy does in terms of responsible
Yes.
thing. So what you would have done is to incur significant costs, pay a premium dollar, but you could have structured this and saved taxpayers dollars.
I want to ask you about the location. You're a former culture minister.
Yes.
Curious location.
Yeah, but you know they had a lot of protests in
Oh, did
relation to
they?
that because you have
Yeah.
Newton is the site of the only slave
Slave
burial
burial
ground
ground.
in this
I
part of
think
the
that's done.
Western Hemisphere.
Yes.
And there were concerns,
Mhm.
protests.
Mhm.
Remember the historians from the
Yes.
With the
university
excavations and
protested
so
in the
on.
heaven,
Yeah. Yeah.
That
I think
there
the
was not
historians are taking the
consultation.
position that they're
Yeah.
desecrating a part of the,
desecrated part of it.
yes, part of the
There was
burial
not proper consultation again
ground. Right.
in relation to the siting
Just
of
rushing
that
ahead.
project. Yeah.
Spending
And
money.
in fact, I asked the question because I asked a number of persons whether they were consulted in terms of the design
Mhm.
of the performing arts sector, because you just don't design something without speaking to the stakeholders.
Yeah.
The person will have to use it.
Yes.
They couldn't tell me that they were consulted.
Stephen, my difficulty is this. I have been involved in the art
Mhm.
myself, not as a performer. That's an Africa to the world.
Yes,
And most of the centers would be located in close proximity, certainly to the art.
yes,
You want your artist to be able to, Maxine, walk into the place
Yes.
from where he lives. There's nothing
Yes.
wrong with that.
exactly.
And there's something about this location that tells me you really are cutting it off from people.
That concern was raised to me by some creators as well.
I am very
In-
concerned
in
about that,
fact, you would
Stephen.
have to create a special bus
A
route
special bathroom,
Yeah.
to come
precisely.
through there.
Precisely.
But these are questions legitimately to be answered.
I
by
think
the
so
government.
too. I think
Yeah.
so too.
Certainly, I would expect that before you launch the project, that the government would review the design
Mhm.
to Barbadians and therefore at least give the country an opportunity to feedback to you.
Yes, yes.
But that couldn't happen within a rushed environment.
Mhm.
We had the same thing happening at Waterford with the Grand Market that is now rendered permanent.
Imagine that.
Mhm.
And by the way, in the initial stages of that Grand Market, there were many embarrassing moments
Mhm.
in terms of the water coming through the
Oh, really?
and so on. And I told somebody
No quite sure.
that if you look at the design of that, where you
Mhm.
have the tent,
Mhm.
the tent kind of structure.
Yes.
In 1981, we had a similar tent structure at the NCF compound in West Terrace.
I remember, yeah.
And Trent.
Yeah.
And you could see
Really?
where the money was spent because
Mhm.
if the government is saying that they spent 22 million,
Million, yes.
$22 million, a lot of money was spent in those structures. But
Yes.
I don't mind if you spend good money for proper infrastructural design that will last you into the future.
Yeah, those things stayed
But
around for
do
a
you
long
know-
time.
But they
But
weren't
they were
used.
destroyed.
They weren't used.
They weren't used
But
much.
they were destroyed by
By
weather.
hurricane.
By
Yes, that's right.
By
That's right. They were
And they're
ripped
no
away
longer
from the
there.
foundation. Yeah.
I live
So
across
we
from
have to
what
ask
one used to
questions
be.
because these are public funds
Mhm.
they're talking about. And what concerns me too in relation to Waterford, I'm hearing that the structure was actually erected on land that was not owned by the government.
That's right.
Mhm.
Well,
So you had
It wasn't owned by
public
government.
funds
And
up
still-
to this day,
I don't think it is owned by government yet.
not owned by the government. So you have public funds being committed
Precisely.
and being expended on land that is not owned by the state,
In fact, Stephen,
which is itself
if
interesting.
the government goes ahead and purchases
Yes.
that, and if they have not done so as yet,
Mhm.
maybe that's one of the reasons why they cannot disclose a figure.
That make double the
And
budget.
precisely because
Mhm.
it is being used as a facility, a commercial facility, which means that the owner can now demand
Commercial.
commercial.
Rate, yes.
Precisely.
I
As
think,
opposed to
it is. I
agriculture.
think there are many questions to that.
A lot of questions.
I don't want us to miss the point of the desecration of that site.
At Newton.
Burial ground. Yeah.
At
You
Newton.
I
take us
want
back
y'all to
there.
remember that the Prime Minister told herself around the Balboa tree when they wanted to knock it down. Got a rope and tied herself around
Which
there.
one? In
They're
Queen's
about
Park?
to
That's in Warrens.
In
The
Warren.
Warrens.
Mhm.
In Warrens.
And if they want to knock it down, they got to kill sheep, all kind of stories. But all of a sudden, this preservation of important sites, cultural artifacts, not more important. The same thing here in Bridgetown here by the school there.
Yeah, because that
That's
had
gone.
Heritage again.
It's gone. But
Yeah.
it's the prime minister who can crucify people for knocking down the tree.
Mhm.
But now she can the screw dock can disappear. She can
Mhm.
take the Arawak sites and so on, and
Garrison.
it makes no difference.
Mhm.
The garrison, you want to base
Or the
street?
Arawak site would be Whole Town,
Yes,
where they put in the
yes.
The civic center.
Correct.
Everything that
Rumor
is-
has it that project is now dead.
Really Whole Town.
Rumor has it.
So they have to reinstate Senator Haynes then.
the classic is that the representative and the minister of foreign affairs no opens his mouth.
Yes, we're going to do a separate program on that. They must be coming for you. Did CARIFESTA, let's switch a bit. Did CARIFESTA reach enough Barbadians? You went to any, Damien?
No, it did not actually.
Did not. Did it reach? Well, it didn't reach you.
No, it didn't reach me.
Do we have a sense? You attended, so
I went to
did you,
several
do you
of
get
the
a sense
events.
that you
I
did
think
one?
Barbadians responded.
They
Barbadians
responded.
came out just
Yeah,
like they did in
fair.
2017.
Mhm, mhm.
Barbadians came out to the events. I went to some of the dance events at the Franklin Hall.
Oh,
The Barbados night
mhm,
was well
mhm.
subscribed. I went
Yeah.
to Newton as well.
I want to
I
hear
went
about
to the
it.
play in
Manson
honor
Wilson?
of
Ma-
of
I thought
the
we-
writer of our national anthem.
Oh, okay. Irvin Burgee.
Virgie. I went to that play. And I went because I wanted to view a play,
Mhm.
and it was well subscribed. I learned something very interestingly at that event because when I arrived there, I saw
Where was this?
at Newton,
Newton.
Mhm.
Okay.
I saw a well-known promoter
Mhm.
moving around very, very, very officially,
Mhm.
ushering persons, and I asked the question, but you're working here, and the promoter says yes, they were hired to deal with this job. So
Mhm.
it tells me then that you had promoters, private promoters, hired
Cost again.
to take care of their things. Yeah, I think Barbadians came up. Barbadians
Yes,
love
we did.
culture.
Yes.
Barbadians, and I don't get mixed up in terms of our role to scrutinize the government in
Mhm.
relation to the proper way in which the public finances should be
Right,
utilized.
right.
Barbadians came out. In fact, the government in CARIFESTA has super concerts.
Mhm.
We took the position in 2017
Mhm.
that delegations, if they wish to bring in super performers,
Mhm.
that they would have to meet the cost of that.
Mhm.
I think this government did the reverse. The government wanted to have a free fest. I think they elevated them to fest
Yes.
without recognizing the cultural importance.
That was the question I
Yeah,
wanted to ask.
they were super fest.
Um,
But the persons who were brought in, the artists,
mhm, mhm.
as I understand it, were paid for by the public purse. So all of them,
High
and
numbers.
of course the government offered these as free events. Because don't forget, I told somebody that if you had to rate, and the government rated CARIFESTA based on the fact that you had quite a number of thousands attending the super concerts free.
You call them super concerts.
There are super concerts.
Yes.
There are called super
Yes,
concerts
yes,
Yeah.
within
I see.
the CARIFESTA
Mhm.
lingo. But at what cost?
Mhm.
The
Well-
cost after the vetting was met by taxpayers that has not yet been reviewed.
That was my specific question to you. And Maxine, you saw any of it? You saw any of CARIFESTA?
No, not
Okay.
live because
Okay. I didn't either.
no.
So my perception was fed by the media,
Right.
social media and the traditional media.
Mhm.
And I may be wrong, but
Mhm.
I got an impression that it was lopsided in favor of entertainment
Yes.
Entertainment.
as opposed to
It-
the
you're
fine
very
arts.
correct.
That
And there
was-
were
My
events,
perception was-
there were events that were poured.
Right. That is my that's what I wanted to ask you. Was it
Government-
lopsided
Don't
in
forget
favor
the
of the,
height. would
you
have
call
been
them what? Super
super
what?
concerts.
Super
Was
concerts.
it lopsided in favor of
It
the
was.
super concert?
Yeah.
The height would have been super concerts and getting some major artists. You bring a major artist from anywhere in the world,
Mhm,
Barbados will respond, especially if
It's
it's free.
free. Yeah.
mhm,
So if we can get the media to capture that, and you would say, despite all of the what the minister referred to, the rocky start of CARIFESTA,
Mhm.
when she would ask the question, she said, well, it started rocky,
Mhm.
but it started to get smooth as it was going along.
Mhm.
So you can try to cover,
Mhm.
and I think the government sought to do it. I went and asked my questions and discovered what was happening, but the government sought to cover its poor execution
mhm,
Yes.
mhm.
by saying we had some super concerts and some big artists.
But Derek, Stephen
You
is
know?
talking about super concerts. And that's for Stephen's age group, the young people. 75-year-old lady who's interested in the arts and craft and wants to see something from you're not 75 Max.
Oh,
Did it cater to that demographic? The person who wants to get their little basket and go off and probably purchase
And not from
something.
the evidence presented to me.
Right.
Because they followed it through the media.
Yes.
And they took all the clippings out of the paper. I don't know what his name.
Admittedly, Waterford may have
the
catered to
Grand
that.
Market, the
Grand
Grand Market,
Market.
the Grand Market
They
did.
did.
What I can say in terms of that
Yes.
though, was that there were some very frustrating moments
At the
the
Grand
first
Market.
couple of days, yes, in
Mhm.
terms of setup. When it was officially open or was to be officially opened, many of the spaces were not,
This is the Grand Market. you
yes,
would
were
say.
not allocated, were not properly allocated, were not finished and so on. So people also had issues of shipments that were brought. And I heard one person complain bitterly on the radio about having her container stuck in the port. And
Mhm.
so in
Yeah.
terms of that, these things were available. And as Stephen did say, I think those aspects would have been pretty much patronized. I, for example, wanted to get to go to the Mansa Musa, but the tickets were sold out. But the other concern, Mansa Musa, that was a Ghanaian
Okay.
production.
Mhm.
But the problem for me was getting in my car and driving to Newton
Mhm.
at a show that was going to finish about 11 o'clock. And to be honest, some of the events I was concerned about if I wasn't with other people parking and getting back
It's
to
about
my
to tell
car
you,
at the
Newton
end.
is not friendly in terms of weather.
Exactly.
It's windswept. It's muddy. It's plantation lands.
And so
It's a cane run
I
turned into a.
hope that from the perspective of legacy, which we may talk about,
Yes,
that they
we
would
are
have
going to.
captured these
Mhm.
things and that we can see them across the Caribbean and even for all those who attended, the different regions, etc., that we may have images of CARIFESTA 15 to view, on an ongoing basis in the future.
Mhm.
Because that's an opportunity which I believe, Stephen, in talking about some of the things that happened with some of the young people in 2017, that if you're talking about legacy, for those who did not necessarily attend, to live events, should be able to see. I don't know what has been captured. I haven't heard any ongoing discussion about that. But
Well, one of the things we did in 2017 was to, in collaboration with CBC, was to invest in high definition TV
Mhm.
equipment.
yes,
Quite a lot of money we expended in collaboration with CBC. For the first time, in fact, CBC had CARIFESTA TV. They
Yes.
had launched CARIFESTA TV at the time,
Mhm.
and that equipment is still with CBC as I understand it. So high definition video ought to have captured CARIFESTA and what Maxine was saying, to have this then telecast to the region, persons who may not have seen it,
Mhm.
because there were persons who went and enjoyed several events.
Mhm.
What we need to do though is to ensure that we can utilize this talent and expand it.
Mhm.
One of the things that was missing, and where we had in 2017, the CARIFESTA Grand Market, which we would have dubbed the Cultural Industries Grand Market, in 2017 had a particular focus. It was not just to go and view craft and fashion and so on, but all the delegations came prepared to Barbados to exhibit their cultural goods and services with a view to ensuring that they could attract international buyers. We brought to Barbados a number of international
How
buyers.
did that turn out?
That was very, very well received. In fact, several of the cultural practitioners were able to secure deals, both in terms of North American preparers as well as Europe. And there's at least one company in Barbados who did bikes and was able to secure some significant sales and deals after that. So
Again, that's part of the
you
legacy.
invest in the legacy.
Yes,
I did
yes.
not see that in this this edition of the Grand Market.
that's called the business of
And
culture.
I think exactly.
Yeah.
Now, after every CARIFESTA, there is the host country is supposed to prepare a report to CARICOM.
Oh, really?
Yes, if the Barbados government or those who planned CARIFESTA 15 had studied our report, they would not have committed some of the omissions.
Within what time period is this report expected?
It is
That's carried
within,
out.
I believe, it's expected within, I think, a month.
A month.
It's a very short window. We were able to do two things.
Mhm.
We were able to get our report to CARICOM in record time,
Mhm.
and we asked the university to do an impact assessment as well.
Mhm.
So persons who were leaving Barbados were quiz, they had questionnaires, they gave answers, which helped then us to structure the exit interviews
Mhm.
and then collate that in a report. And we had this CARICOM.
This report to CARICOM will include costs.
Yes, it would include costs, it would include, and any CARIFESTA will have challenges.
Mhm.
It would include challenges and how the next host
Mhm.
can actually manage.
It
One of the things that
it becomes a guide for the next
Of
host.
course.
Right.
one of the things that we had said in that report, and I also said it too as well, is that certainly the host, the next host
Mhm.
should have a very important presence during the execution of the CARIFESTA that came before,
Mhm.
so that they're in the engine room and
Yes.
they're able to work along with that host
Yes,
country. So that when they get the baton,
Mhm.
they're able to then,
Move
navigate
smoothly.
Mhm.
more smoothly.
Yeah.
Because you're talking about a festival that is cherished and loved by Caribbean people.
Mhm.
We have a vested interest beyond our criticisms to ensure that the next festival
Mhm.
is even better than the one that is here now.
Mhm.
I mean, we're talking about accountability, but at the end of the day, we're talking about investing in our creative talent. And we have to make sure that we can actually pass that baton forward.
You did a collaboration with CBC,
Mhm.
2017.
Yes.
Where was CBC in this one, if you know?
I don't know. I don't know. where
We call
CBC
it the
was.
national broadcaster, and certainly
Yes,
in terms
yes.
of
I would expect it though, because
I
we,
would
we,
record.
we actually invested significant sums in high definition TV and expected that. And CBC boasts of actually using that equipment even in terms of its normal program.
I think they
So-
did have
so
some collaboration.
Exactly.
they
this
did
time.
see some images, some shows. I
Mhm.
mean,
Right.
when while the
CBC.
while the
Oh,
festival
great,
was going
great,
on, so
great.
people did have a
But
chance
we wanted to justify our spend based on legacy.
Mhm.
We invested and made. For example, we could have done it without involving CBC. We could have done, but we wanted to spend that money to ensure that CBC years later
Mhm.
can benefit from high definition TV.
Damien, yours is the younger demographic.
Mhm.
You said you did not attend. Wish you had. Your age group, let's say the 35 to 45. They attended.
From what I was able to gather from the people who spoke to me,
Mhm.
there wasn't a lot of interaction with my age group.
There was not.
There was not.
Mhm.
There was not, because I think that where this government has fell down is that they've taken the ethos of that the original ethos of CARIFESTA, which
Mhm.
was a celebration of not only multiculturalism but multinationalism
Yes.
of Caribbean people coming together, our diversity, which is highlighted, but they're that interconnectedness because of that diversity
Yes.
from where we came from, and they've now taken CARIFESTA and turned it into effect. Basically
They even call it super pets.
a PR party,
Yeah, for the government.
basically, because the most of the people that I interacted with were people who were highly involved in the cultural aspect of
Mhm.
of the arts and so on.
Mhm.
So when you see that the ethos in regards to CARIFESTA is basically now been watered down to what it is now, basically just bright lights and loud music.
Yes.
You're not going to attract that crowd that come now for the culture. Even going back to the design of the amphitheater or whatever it was at Newton.
At Newton.
There doesn't seem that any consultation went into the design of it,
Mhm.
because it doesn't translate culturally to anything in the Caribbean. Basically, it just feels like it was just a structure that was put up.
Well, they said it's based on Japanese architecture, which is strange.
George and ours. Enjoy.
Derek, I wanted
Okay.
to lean on you as a sociologist. You being the sociologist, CARIFESTA, should it be telling us about one identity, one Caribbean identity, or should it be a coming together of several identities? Where are you philosophically on this?
I remember came out in 2017.
Mhm.
Deacons hosted Belize and Suriname for the standard.
Mhm.
And they went to families, had lunch,
So you had community tourism back then.
played volleyball, we took them to Brandon's Beach. And
These
then,
Surinamese you hosted
and,
in
and
Deacons.
Belize, and Belize.
Community tourism.
Yes, and Belize.
Mhm.
And we then made friends to the point that Deacon Volleyball Club went and had played volleyball. It's a Belizean guy.
Mhm. Mhm.
And my Belizean guy became the coach of the Barbados national team.
Mhm.
So that probably would have been 81, CARIFESTA. But that, to me, that was an aspect that we missing, certainly from this one. The communities did not have that kind of contact
Mhm.
with
Mhm.
any groups.
That's interesting. Let's pause and hear what Adrian Hines is telling us. I did not attend CARIFESTA 15 because I was concerned it was going to be a motley party show. And so it was, in my view. Ryan Rock above him says, I think that what Mr. Lashley said is a very good idea. If we pass the baton, that country should have been here to see how it happened, and then we can go and help the plan of the next. As it goes on. Good point, Stephen. Ryan Rock is with you on that one.
Yeah.
Rosaline Corbin, let's read that one. The edifice at Newton is so visually and aesthetically unappealing as you drive by compared to nearby
Chapel.
chapel. I've been asking Maxine not to laugh.
Honestly,
But I come back to you, Derek. So you established that relationship with the Surinamese,
Right.
but I want to take you philosophically to CARIFESTA. Philosophically to CARIFESTA. Are we seeking to establish a Caribbean identity, or are we bringing together our separate identities to show each other?
I think yeah.
Where are you philosophically?
Well, my position is that we need to build one Caribbean.
One Caribbean people.
Okay. But
You know the Jamaicans say in their motto, out of many one people.
Right.
That's possible.
But listen, the premier radio station in Barbados was not called the Barbados Broadcasting Corporation. It was called the Caribbean Broadcasting Corporation.
Before that, Radio Barbados.
Right.
But you're too young to know about that.
Come on. So what I'm saying is that is a message that you're attending. That Barbados is not developing a Barbados radio station.
Right.
And
Caribbean.
And therefore, I think most of our activities, we have the Caribbean Volleyball Association champions. We have World Basketball, Caribbean Basketball. So the creative section is CARIFESTA. That's just to carry that.
So you're for one identity.
Yes.
Stephen, where are you on this?
I capture it within the context of is the identity issues within the creativity of our people. But beyond that, we basically within the Caribbean, we have a cultural product that is capable of being converted into huge amounts of revenue for our region. We can no longer say that we are totally dependent on tourism. And therefore, within the context of the need to diversify, we have an excellent opportunity to use the creative sector to bring in foreign exchange into the region. And that means that equates to creating jobs.
Yes.
It equates to creating textile opportunities, fashion, design. We would have had a very important agreement with the European Union in which we were exploring avenues for fashion and design. And there are niche areas that we can actually create. Because for me, the hosting of CARIFESTA is a moment in time.
Yes.
The question is how we are going to use this moment in time to propel in the islands of the Caribbean into a sector where, as you know, if you look at the last report of UNTAD, the last one that I saw in 2022, we're talking about $1 trillion industry.
Yeah, I wanted you to come to
$1
that.
trillion industry. The question is, the Caribbean is not able to get a 4% or 5% of that. And when we're talking about planning for diversity,
Is it a viable industry?
it is viable, of course. If you look at, for example, what happened to the world during COVID, the entire world was shut down.
Yes.
Look at the statistics in terms of which industries were sufficiently viable
Mhm, mhm.
to be able to respond and still
quickly.
and rebound quickly.
Yeah. Which
In
ones?
fact,
Which ones?
The
were-
creative sector,
Creative sector.
particularly the film industry,
Mhm,
proved to be the most able to adapt and survive.
mhm,
Because I'm sure during COVID, you went and you watched movies.
mhm. Oh yeah.
They didn't have enough movies
That's
to
right.
be created.
Why have we never developed, in spite of all that? This has been mentioned before. Why have we never developed as a zone for movie making? Maxine?
I think part of the challenge is that we have not appreciated the value of it, one, and the kind of infrastructure. Prior to the passing of the legislation, the Cultural
Cultural
Industries
Industries
Development Act, prior to that, we did not have that kind of legislative framework of regulation and incentivizing the sector. In addition to that, we need some more legislation. There's something called co-production legislation, where either as a country we offer those incentives to facilitate film in particular.
Mhm.
It is also expensive, and therefore to produce a film,
Yes.
you keep hearing me refer to Marcia Weeks.
Yes.
Stephen can tell you. I mean, she and her husband, they have a small production company. Oh dear. They will come back to me.
Bongo Lights was doing something.
He,
as
he
well.
was also before
Mhm.
that. But that film, Joseph, and if I say it to Barbadians, if you haven't seen it, you need to see it.
Mhm.
That was the first effort of its kind. This was a film done by step production. I think I have the name correct now.
Yes.
That was filmed between Jamaica, Barbados, Ghana, and in Ghana in 3 cities. It was in Accra, in Kumasi, and Cape Coast,
Mhm, mhm.
and there were local artists. I mean, there were 2 Barbadians who were there, Allison, I was saying
Hines.
Allison Hines,
Hines.
and what's the other young lady's name? The other singer. Oh, they're stepping in, but they'll come back to me. And that was one of the efforts. But as I said, it's expensive.
Mhm.
What it really says is that when we talk about legacy,
Mhm.
we have to be prepared, and we know being government,
Mhm.
probably incentivizing the public to invest as well
Mhm.
in these kinds of things. So you know, it is the opportunity is there, but it has not been pushed, it's not been supported.
Mhm.
And one of the ways in which we can have that develop is by collaborating with international. Stephen pointed out earlier
Mhm.
that you had somebody seeking to do business,
Mhm.
but they didn't get returns. They didn't know who to turn to, or
Right,
when they
right.
reached out, nobody reached back. There was a film commissioner appointed again,
Mhm.
and Stephen mentioned earlier the dismantling of all
Yes.
of that. So if you think of it as a step-by-step process, we didn't have it before because the ecosystem, I don't like to use these buzzwords, but the
Yeah, they're onto
ecosystem
that
was
now.
not there. The
Mhm.
infrastructure was not there. We've worked to put the legislation and incentives in place, but it has been dismantled,
Mhm.
especially at a time where we've been talking about this orange economy or the cultural
Lots of
industries.
words.
You know,
Right.
all of these, they're the words that are tossed around. But
Mhm.
when you talk about, I mentioned earlier, the business of film or the business of culture,
Mhm.
that is missing. That a serious commitment to that is missing. You know, and then we have to get back to that. And again, I really would want to compliment the work of my colleague.
Yes. Yes.
You know, because it was something that was prioritized, because we, on the one hand, we're saying we need to create these opportunities for young people.
Mhm.
We expose young people to film. We now have on campus a faculty,
Yes.
you know,
that's right.
and if I might say, he will probably say, I don't want you to say it, my son did film.
Okay.
Yes, he did film,
Mhm.
and he went on to do something in digital
And we've
editing.
lost him.
Well, but to
but-
me,
yeah.
you're not lost. But I
He's not
said to
here.
him, but I said to him,
He's absent.
I said to him when he made that choice,
Mhm.
that if that is where you want to go, recognize that you may have to work remotely. You have to,
Precisely.
you know, and but
Precisely.
but the beautiful thing about the technology and so on, collaboration
Mhm.
is possible. I will use the film again, Joseph.
Mhm.
You know, the entire crew and so on. We had the editor of the film was a Brazilian.
Mhm.
You know, you had some, so it was a cross section of people, local, regional, and international. And that is one of the models that we need to pursue. But we have to get beyond the talk because the action was started
Mhm.
and there's been a walk back.
A cessation.
A cessation. Thank you. Good word. 'Cause not
Max-
even not a pause, a cessation.
Maxine, you say film has gone missing. I come back to Stephen and Damien, I want you to chime in here. Theater, drama, stage. You did the Daphne Hackett theater
Yes.
when I was his age,
Mhm.
Damien's age. I could probably see
50
about,
years
don't want to exaggerate, long time ago. I could probably see about 2-3 plays a year
Yes.
Yes.
at Daphne Hackett Theater. I saw Ethos at Grand Barbados. I saw the Rock Children at Commentator. I remember them
And
all.
I saw a few
I think
plays.
I saw Toucan play at Daphne
Yes.
Hackett.
At that, and that
Where
that
has
is
theater gone, Stephen?
I
Drama,
believe-
it's disappeared.
it is something that has gone almost redundant. But you see, you have to create the environment for these things to
There
happen.
we
A
are.
lot of it has to happen within the context of our schools, for example.
Mhm.
You
We're
would
talking about-
going to the schools then?
Yes, we're talking about education reform. I
Mhm.
heard that as a buzzword.
Yes.
Without
Yes.
much
They're not
meaning.
reforming.
And I think the Democratic Labour Party is going to have to rescue the Culture
Yes.
Institute Development Act.
And
because
give
Maxine,
new
you were
meaning to the
saying
word reform.
in terms of
Production.
co-production.
Mhm.
Co-production is a component of the legislation that leads to co-production in relation to both foreign. In
Mm.
fact, we had it so structured
Mhm.
that the foreign producers had to come to us to co-produce,
Mhm.
but there was an element in terms of the incentives. They had to be able to employ a certain percentage of Barbadian talent.
Mhm. Mhm.
It wasn't that you come in and you bring your entire crew. That is why, for example, you have the Outer Banks
Mhm.
that actually came into Barbados when we had the film commissioner.
Mhm.
We're able to come into Barbados and Barbadians work along with them.
Exactly.
The fact is that you have to have a cross-fertilization of talent, which, in other words, you have incentives.
Mhm.
The condition of that incentive is that there must be some kind of collaboration with Barbadian talent in your production.
Would you go for a national theater company, for example? The stage ones have disappeared. Maxine, years ago, you and I went to a meeting at Pinelands. Do you remember that?
Yes, I
Yeah,
was
yeah.
very much involved back then. Yeah.
yes.
I believe
Uh,
that once
National
you see
theater
the
company,
role of-
national dance company.
yes, but that
The-
that would thrive
That's
in an
all
environment.
disappeared.
Yes, and it may come back in a different fashion, but
Mhm.
the role of
Is there a
government,
role for government in that?
of
In
course,
the
there's a role.
establishment
The
of
role
that?
of government is to create the enabling environment,
Right.
and the legislation. That's why government is a continuum. Some
Mhm.
people don't seem to believe that.
Mhm.
But if you have a government that brought into place legislation that created incentives for the first time,
Correct.
but because you want to create something that is in your own image,
Mhm.
you decide that as far as they're concerned, I'm
Oh,
going
yeah.
to de-emphasize that.
Mhm.
You have actually thwarted the careers and aspirations of thousands of Barbadians
True.
who relied and who had lobbied government
Mhm.
to create this legislation.
Mhm.
The legislation is practically dormant. Or what's happening is that some people who are best favored
Mhm.
are getting the assistance, they're getting the grants. But the minute that you're not seen to be a player, you can't run government like that. You can't run government based on who you like. And I took a position very frankly that I didn't have to have anything to do with the incentives. Once the government cabinet
Infrastructure
created
is
it,
there.
the
You're fine.
infrastructure and the
Yes.
players in a
Yes.
dynamic market
Derek, what
would exchange their goods and services.
I would just like
what do we say about a society in which the arts are disappearing?
losing its soul.
Folk
Losing its soul.
losing its soul.
When I was at Deacons, we had
Mhm.
a play.
Oh, you and I talk about this all the time.
We had inter-community,
Different
became
society.
third. Harold Cotton Symphony Center,
And
right?
this is at the very
Yes, and
Local
and
grassroots
Silver
level.
Cadavan, the lawyer,
Mhm.
he played in it, called the master.
a play. Called
play.
the play.
And
Call me
our
back.
culture,
Where was this play then?
It was inter-community center play.
And
We produced it in Deacons Community Center, and then we did
no
it.
photographs So that I can see Corbin
That's-
Master
that's
in his Shakespearean garb.
Yeah, it was very funny. He came third. But I mean,
And this growth of the community.
yes, but at school we had
Yes.
I'm gonna
Yes.
I'm gonna offer a suggestion here now and
Mhm.
and to our constituency branches. So keeping it in the family in the first instance, and anybody can
They're
borrow
gonna
it.
steal it from you.
Well, they can steal it, but I will spell it out here now and
And take ownership for
and
it.
take ownership for it in front of whoever's watching the 500 and something persons who are on
On one of the channels.
and that's it on one of the channels. As I mentioned, there's a faculty
Here,
no.
Cape
at Cave Hill.
Yes.
We have a number of students and graduates of that faculty.
Mhm.
There's a structured program of which has been introduced, a give back program. Let us identify some initiatives to have community theater
Excellent.
where we get our youngsters and I know that a number of people have gone through some training where they can start small. A number of young people were trained to do filming and so on.
Mhm.
Editing, as you mentioned, some young people did
Where are they,
editing.
Matt?
Digital media.
Where are
They are they're around and
They're
about.
here,
It
Barbadians.
is what I can
We've
commit
lost
to.
some of them to North America, though.
But
you know
they're
that.
not lost.
But
They're not lost because
Physical
of
presence.
digital
But it benefits
digital.
Barbados.
You
Oh, it
know.
does.
So in essence, one of the things I can do, I can ask, and I'm putting on my hat as president of the Alumni Association UWI
Mhm.
of the Barbados chapter
Mhm.
to try to find some of to get a list of the graduates
Mhm. Mhm.
and see if we can bring them together to interest them in doing something like this.
Mhm.
Because it is about
Of course.
creating activities. I mean, for example, one of the things we could do is capture the stories of our elders.
Right.
You know, I sit often at church next to a lady who's 99 years
Yes.
old,
And she should
And-
be. You should be recording her.
and her
details.
memory
Yes.
is phenomenal.
Yes. Yes.
You know, on the other hand, we see persons younger than her who are losing their memory and so on. But let us capture their memories.
Well, a lot of those
You know?
memories, Maxine, I can hand to you Trevor Marshall's Folk Songs of Barbados,
Okay,
which is lying dormant.
you know, and you
And in a few
do,
years, it would be completely dead.
and
if
and
we
you-
do nothing
and
with
we
it. Yeah, Folk
and
Songs
in
of
fact,
Barbados.
I suggested, again, I call her name all the time because we do a lot of collaboration, Marcia Weeks, because she's very much,
Yes.
very passionate about this. And I said to her, you know, often she and her husband would take youngsters around the island. I said, just ask them to capture with
Yeah,
their
this is
phones.
Praise Academy of Dance. Let's acknowledge
Yeah,
that.
and
Yeah.
with that, yes, and so they take these youngsters around. I said, let them capture with their phones their stories.
Yes. Yes.
Show them how, and because a lot of them learn how to put them together to edit and so on. And so my thing is that a lot of this is about developing community spirit, about bridging the gap between generations.
Mhm. Mhm.
You know, I am amazed when I look around and I see people aging and and there's so much richness.
Yes.
There's so
Yes.
much richness.
Well, we're losing contact with our literature.
But
You know.
the truth is that we have not taken community development as this serious.
Mhm. Mhm.
We've seen it.
You would develop this at the community level there.
Yes.
The revival of the art.
Yes.
School and the community.
I
Stephen is
promise
saying the
I promise
schools
I will sit with
And the
Derek
community as
and
well.
and the
Stephen.
community.
and
But you know the
precisely.
community is going to be difficult because of
Yeah,
violence.
I tell you what.
Yeah.
No, but,
tell you what,
no, but I
if
think
you
it
go
may.
into
You're optimistic, Maxine, that you can
Yeah.
recapture it in the community.
Yes,
if you go into the
yes.
heart of Silverhill,
Mhm.
you will see a very posh building. It's called a youth empowerment center.
Mhm.
You remember that?
Yeah,
Derek?
yeah, very much so, very
Yeah.
much so.
We created the first youth empowerment center
In Silver Hill.
with the financial support of the Maria Holder Trust. I must say that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And they own that project also, although it was open
After.
finished and open after the fact. But the thinking behind that was to create a youth empowerment center in Barbados. That facility has a recording studio
Really?
in the heart of Silver Hill. To be outfitted, when I left it, it was just to be outfitted.
Mhm.
And I have to really thank the Maria Holder Trust because they put $2 point something million in that facility.
Mhm.
And I hope it is being utilized. But these facilities can be utilized for what they were supposed to be. The
Is it
creative
there
talent.
now, Stephen?
It's there
Is it
in the
still
middle of
there?
the hill.
Is it being used?
I don't know
Yes.
the extent of it. It is.
We
But
have
it's
to
there.
ask Melissa Howard, our candidate.
Yes,
there
but
if
it's there
being
in
used.
Silver Hill. But the thinking is empowering communities in
Mhm.
terms of their creativity.
Mhm.
Is that you have to put facilities right in front of their
Mhm.
doorstep.
Yes.
Where a youngster who may not be able to journey down to go to the
To Newton.
university or
Or
Newton
to Newton.
Newton.
Yes.
can
yes,
walk
yes.
can walk with their
Yes,
iPad or the
precisely.
instrument straight into a facility that
Correct.
is dynamically
Located in the
and
community.
create the talent
Yes. Yes.
to the point that that could become a product
Yes.
to be exchanged for money. That's how
Mhm.
that person can earn. So the dynamic environment that is being created, sometimes you have to recognize where is it? Are you taking it forward, or are you going to just invest your talent or your money, public funds, and just have effects? Nothing wrong with effect,
No, no.
but beyond the effect, and I
Yeah,
say that
yeah.
beyond the effect, then you have to ask the question. And I even would say beyond the gathering.
Mhm.
What is it that you're going to leave with our people
Mhm.
that will translate into real earning capacity
Mhm.
that can then in turn
And create a
help you
better
to
citizen.
diversify your income? Because I see the creative sector
Mhm.
as an important facility by which you can diversify.
Yes.
And you have to
Exactly.
believe that it can happen because there are people there who we are training. We're
Mhm.
training person at community college, university. What are we saying to them to go and work in the Caribbean? They can work right here in Barbados.
Yes.
But we're
yes,
also,
yes,
if I might interject, we're also paying African influencers
Yes.
who have become, yes,
we are paying them.
we pay African influencers. We have African Tigress. I think that's her name.
That's the tourism project, Maxine.
There's Vodamaya, who's a Ghanaian. No, I mean, I follow because we have not in Barbados found a
No,
way to help
Paying
our
them to do
people
what?
to promote Barbados. For example, if you see what happened, we have these content creators
Mhm.
who have started out, many of them using their cell phones,
Awesome.
and they've graduated the equipment. You can go, I'll send you some of them to
Mhm.
see.
Please.
And they have become wealthy. And they're traveling the world. In fact, I mentioned African Tigers. I was just watching her. She's in Brazil right now. If
African
that,
Tigress.
yeah, she's Kenyan.
Mhm, mhm.
Wadamaya is Ghanaian.
Yeah, I saw him.
You know,
I saw
and
him.
there are several of them. There's another Nigerian guy who has moved to Portugal. I follow these young people and so on. And the point is that we have been able to, when I keep saying we as in Barbados, the country, I mean, the government, the current government has done this. They have contributed to their success,
Mhm.
but we have, as a country, not been able to monetize
That's the point.
that creativity of our locals.
Mhm.
And my question I always ask a question all the time: why is it not happening? What is missing? And I think that's something that we have to solve.
I want to ask you this then, Maxine.
Mhm,
If we had now
mhm,
the cultural and artistic vibrancy that we had in 70s, 80s,
mhm.
if we had it, if we could transplant that into this time, could we monetize it?
Well, my question, we could, but
Finance and the
yeah, they were. I mean,
and the
because what you
country
do
theatre
is
workshops.
people are interested in seeing there's something. You if you go on your phone right now, you will find, well, they used to have movies like, but now they're having stories.
Really?
Stories. I will send you some of these
Mhm.
things.
It's almost like
Don't clog up my phone.
I'm interested
phone
now
does
as
have
we're
a lot
talking
of
about
memory.
stories,
Uh-huh.
and I'm thinking about
But people make money.
our Calypsonians in terms of
Exactly.
Yes.
dynamic.
Yes.
And I'm just learning some very sad news that we just lost Invader number 3.
Oh no.
Oh,
So
dear.
that he is passed on, and certainly
And we're here discussing the arts and culture.
Yes,
creativity
and
and
he-
Invader, we lost him.
Invader number
I'm
3, I
sorry.
understand, has passed
Well,
on.
I'm
Yes.
sorry.
So,
Well, to
so
his family
certainly
and
through this
friends.
avenue, I would certainly believe that we should certainly observe
Yes.
the fact that we've lost
Yes.
an
Yes.
outstanding icon
Oh yeah.
in
Yes.
Calypso.
He won the crown once.
I believe so.
Raise
Yes,
your hand.
raise your hand.
Yes.
He was one of the top guns
Well, let us express condolences to
Certainly.
his family.
to his family.
The real name was Joseph.
Joseph Hughes.
Joseph
Hughes.
Hughes.
Yeah,
Yes, still
Invader
know my
number
Calypso.
3. Invader number
Yes.
3. He was one of my favorites.
Yes,
Yeah.
I liked his style.
Heavy Trinidadian accent.
He was
Right,
As a matter
Trinidadian.
of fact, he
Trinidadian.
sung that
Lived
same
here for a
song.
long time.
The theme of that song was Caribbean unity.
Mhm.
If you want
Yes,
Caribbean unity,
that's right.
raise your hand.
Yes,
You know,
yes, yes.
And he was phenomenal.
Yeah, well,
yeah.
may
So
the
sorry.
ancestors receive them.
Yes.
Rest in peace.
I don't want to run away from the rural community.
Yeah. Take it back to
Every
meeting.
every church when it was growing up with Christmas pageant,
Mhm.
That's right.
Easter pageant,
That's right. That's right.
Deacon View will have a Christmas show.
So it was really
It
rooted
was
in the community. Yeah.
at
Yeah.
school.
Yeah. We forgot the
I
churches.
remember at school, I played
Primary or secondary?
primary. I played sheep on sheep over my head, and I blah blah. And it was part of your education at that time, and you had to transform into the community.
Those were your only words in the play there.
Yeah, blah.
Easy
But I was in
lines.
it.
Easy lines.
I
You were
was
in it.
I was in it. And the others that couldn't get me even to say blah blah. The point is that it was part of growing up. It was part of school. It was part of the community.
Yes.
And we have lost that part. And I believe that any government that is serious in changing the direction has to make that connection between community, church, and school and make it work.
Let's go a little deeper then.
Yeah.
Maxine wants to send me stuff on the phone. What has the phone done to young people's
I think
creativity?
I think
Or
well,
they being creative on those phones?
I think a lot of
And to
them
social
do
life.
not. A lot of them do not necessarily appreciate the full extent to which they can utilize their phones and the power of the phones. And you
Mhm.
know,
Mhm.
in another place, one of the things that I'm working with some young people in the area of artificial intelligence, and the concern was that we're consumers. We're consumers
Correct.
of these things.
Correct.
So a lot of our
TikTok.
youngsters just consume,
Mhm.
but they
TikTok.
don't see
The
how they
TikTok
can create.
phenomenon.
And so it is really to show them how they can create all kinds of things
Mhm.
out of their lives and
Yes.
what's going on around them. And I think that is something. I mean, I recently have been observing that in terms of our plants and whatever, there seems to be, I put it down to the volcanic ash,
Mhm.
that there seems to be a flourishing of our plants and so on. And then there's a lot of talk nowadays about the benefits of our fruits and so on.
Mhm.
And my question is, how have we been able to capture these things? Do our young people even consume some of these things? You
Mhm.
know,
Mhm.
I remember talking. Well, you know, me and my beach buddies,
Yes.
all
Brandon's.
Brandon, and people talk. One young lady said, you know, during the summer vacation, we used to have our lunch outdoors, whether it was green, golden apples or
Really?
yeah. In other words, the thing was you would spend the day playing and
Mhm.
eating from the fruits, the
Oh,
trees
yes,
around
yes,
you, and
yes,
so
of
on.
course,
So
of
that was
course, of course.
outdoors.
Uh-huh.
So I'm just thinking that there's so much to life as a Barbadian, past and present, that we can capture in all kinds of ways. We've been talking about film,
Mhm.
but as I was listening to you, I remember that in 2016 when we had our diaspora conference.
Mhm.
When I opted not to use the term regathering because an Irishman was trying to get a consultancy out of me with this regathering, and I told him we could come up with our own thing.
Yes. Yes.
And so, you
So
know,
that's where these people
I
got this
suspect
name.
so. I suspect so. You know, and they probably paid for it too.
$500,000 US. And then set up a commission.
And so one of the things we focused on was fashion,
Mhm.
which takes us back to CARIFESTA and what Stephen was mentioning.
Creativity.
You know, so, and in again, that's an area where we can get our young people together. I mean, there's so much richness in
Yes.
what we can expect or what we can share to seek to diversify this economy. Because as I said, when CARIFESTA is about the business of culture, and when we break it down into fashion, into music, into film,
Mhm.
into graphic arts of other type, into you know, sculptures and paintings and all these. There's so much that can happen.
But
And
the
even
other
using
thing-
the
just
digital
quick,
platform.
Let me quick.
Go ahead.
We should go up with Pragnell Academy.
Oh, yes.
Right.
Reading
Yeah.
the calendar
Yeah.
stories.
Yeah,
It so happened.
We go in that environment.
Exactly.
Every school in Barbados should have a copy of it. So happened.
and those stories. Remember I mentioned
Oh,
about
they're
the
funny.
stories on that people are watching and that I must admit that I listen to them. I work with music or some. I don't like to work in silence. Let me put it that way.
Mhm.
So I can listen to stories, There's some interesting stories that we can capture. I mean, go back to Timothy Calendar's
Oh, yeah.
St.
Nothing else about
Victoria.
it so happened. Yeah, St.
St.
Victoria.
Victoria
St. Jude.
Village. I don't know. You
Peace
ever
and
heard
love.
about St. Jude's or St. Victoria Village?
That may be a bit.
Black Rock.
Yeah, that was, yeah.
Yes, the graphics from Black Rock.
It'll be interesting though, because there are young people who are doing some dynamic things with cell phones as well.
Mm-hmm.
It would be interesting to have a discourse in
With
here
with the young
with
people.
a number of young people.
So
in
the
terms of-
technology can marry
technology
with
can marry,
the
of course.
culture.
But hearing
And
from
literature.
them,
What how they would
what
use
they're
it,
doing.
what they're
yes, what
doing.
they may
Yes,
have, but
yes.
hearing from them, they have their own version of
Mhm.
where they're at in
Mhm.
terms of their own creativity.
Yeah,
But
that's
a lot
true.
of them are doing some very fantastic work. I think
Mhm.
in order to understand where we pivot, we have to get into some serious consultation
Mm-hmm.
with the players out there,
Exactly.
because they're doing some fantastic stuff in order to plan policy
Mhm.
and to make that policy relevant.
Mhm.
Because you don't want to do something that duplicates or doesn't. And this is where we
Mhm.
have in terms of handover government. One
Mhm.
government comes in, they don't consult and look at the documentation that is there
Mhm.
and take it forward. So therefore, the persons who are the beneficiaries suffer because there is this enormous amount of delay
Mhm.
in forging ahead.
Yeah.
But there's a lot of stuff that is out there. For example, Maxine mentioned fashion.
Mhm.
We
Yes.
had an agreement, as you know, with the European Union in
Mhm.
relation to fashion and design,
Mhm.
in which we had significant work done on that area. And that was meant to be a niche area to be taken forward.
Mhm.
And cotton as well, using the sea island cotton.
Oh, that's
So,
an interesting
yes.
one.
So these are things that are actually done.
Mhm.
We just need to, and I realize nothing is being said about it. No, we need to be able to harness that information and make sure that it can translate into fruitful activity.
I was quite distressed. You mentioned cotton, Stephen. I was
Mhm.
quite distressed when I heard last week the minister say that a company is coming in
Mhm.
to revive the cotton industry. And I was wondering about the terms, if it is going to be like Guyana and their oil, because it is generally felt that Guyana is not making
No,
enough money off
no,
its
no,
oil.
they are. They are.
And he had promised to do hundreds of acres of cotton. And he's failed with that. And now I'm
Right.
hearing that a company is coming in.
Companies coming in. Again, we're not utilizing our local talent.
Precisely.
And,
Precisely.
and we have not really responded to persons who have been in these fields
Mhm.
and who really just got to go and consult with.
Yeah.
You know.
So that if Stephen, I asked you, are the arts dying in Barbados?
I would say no.
You would say no.
It is not dying. I think what has happened is that
It's asleep.
you have a hiatus.
Mhm.
The infrastructure has been set, and there are people who have actually they complain to me that enough focus is not being given to the kind of things that require. Because artists need to have reasonable access to financing
Mhm.
to be able to take their creativity forward.
Mhm.
We started that through the Culture Industry Development Fund.
Mhm.
There's a fund
Mhm.
established
Yes.
that buttress the legislation. That fund now, and certainly we felt that it should be a dedicated entity
Mhm.
actually holding the hands of artists in terms of access to that fund. That fund now is still there, but it is being dealt with through the NCF.
I want everybody to answer this question, but I want to ask you first.
Mhm.
You mentioned the superfect,
Yes.
and from my observation, Calypso, I have nothing against Calypso, I love Calypso, but Calypso seems to have received more attention than the other artistic
Genres.
expression, the other genres. You agree with
I think
that?
they had 4 superfects
At CARIFESTA.
at our
Yes,
festival.
well publicized, and
One
everybody
was
loved them.
Vintage Calypso.
Yes, that's correct.
One was, I guess, the more modern thing. I think Marshall and those
Mhm.
came in for that. And then there was one was that soca too, the soca one.
But have we
I'm not sure
been
if- yeah.
overemphasizing Calypso? I mean, we teach it in schools.
Mm.
We have all these competitions for the children, but drama has disappeared. Folk singing has disappeared. Dance
Well,
has
if you look at-
disappeared, apart from the one or two. Well,
Yeah.
apart from Dance in Africa, which I'm a founder member. I probably say I look at the camera and say that founder member.
The feeder point for that is really different. In terms
That
of
was my
that
question.
element of it. And you see, if you go to NIFCA, you realize that our fears of these things dying is not really a real fear.
It isn't.
No, not really. Within, you see NIFCA, the expression of NIFCA, and what happens at NIFCA. You go and you see the schools, and that's why, for example, we invested in infrastructure in schools.
Stephen, Nifka
The
is
school.
how long?
That's what I
November.
mean. But then you have to extrapolate and take that.
But we are not.
But NIFCA is almost like just a It gives you a snapshot,
Precisely.
but then you have to determine how you.
When the children will go to NIFO, what happens?
That's the point.
That's why I
the
said
point.
it needs to be.
They go back to school, and
Community,
then in
community.
November they start
So if,
rehearsing
if
again.
I don't know where they are now, but think of the St. Leonard's Boys School Choir.
Oh, yeah.
The-
Yes,
These
yes,
young
yes,
men, these
yes.
boys were able to travel. I remember them
They still
traveling.
around?
This is why I'm not sure what's happening now, but I remember during the time I was minister having some interface when a group of them went off to London to
Mhm.
perform and so
Mhm.
on. So at the end of the day, it is about who will champion, the cause of those groups beyond IFCA. Because at the end, do those recordings. You have them performing, record the rehearsals and watch the growth, identify the talent and so on. There's a choir from South Africa that I've been following,
Mhm.
and
This is on YouTube.
yes,
Mhm.
something else to set up your phone.
There's
But-
one
but-
from Ghana as well.
Yeah, and so you
Yeah.
see these kinds of things, and then they perform internationally, and you have.
Again,
I
monetizing
remember
their
again
talent.
precisely the COVID. One of the things that for those who were interested in music, both voice and instrument,
Mhm.
you had persons pulling together orchestras and so on in different locations.
Mhm.
And you would see 40 or 50 persons performing maybe in 6 or 7 countries.
Mhm.
And they didn't get together physically. I mean, there's so much that can happen that I challenge all our graduates of Barbados Community College, the university, the West Indies, the faculty. I notice I haven't called it there because it has a fairly long name in terms of culture and whatever. But they're doing good work there in several areas of the arts, etc. So it is to start, I think, and you mentioned one of our candidates, who I believe she can, with a little encouragement, start the ball rolling in her constituency.
Yes, at the recording
Yes.
studio.
And
Youth Empowerment
seriously
Youth
start to
Empowerment
do
Center.
this.
Yeah.
And I think what the benefits are multiple.
Mhm.
I think it's about building community. It is about bringing together the generations. I think
Yes,
that's something
yes.
that I find fascinating. Maybe as I get older. And seriously, for example, I use myself. I'm of a 4-generation family.
Mhm.
And I was telling somebody only this week that if I live another couple of years, there may be 5 generations of us alive.
Mhm.
And there's stories to tell about that. I mean, photography. I shared photographs of our Dame Avis Carrington with some friends when she turned 107,
Yeah.
and beautiful pictures and there's so much richness.
Well, you see the Culture Industry Development Act
Mhm.
that we enacted is really the bedrock upon which all of what we're saying can happen.
Mhm.
It has not been given the kind of
Attention.
attention
What do you
that is
see
required.
yourself doing in your own
But in that, for
Yeah,
example,
I
you could
got
have groups that create what you call cultural projects.
Mhm.
Cultural projects can then get financing through the Culture Industry Development Fund. And we had several every year
Mhm.
after that legislation was enacted. We had several projects being done
Mhm.
by so many different people. And the kind of projects were so dynamic.
Mhm. Mhm.
They dealt with everything,
Mhm.
whether it's drama, whatever it is, and they were being financed. We have to ensure that that's continued.
Stephen, your focus has been monetizing.
Yes, that's a big focus.
Yeah, Derek's, to use Maxine's term, is more about community building.
Yeah.
We've lost our communities in terms of the contribution of the arts.
Yeah, I think they can be marrying up them because
Yeah.
while you build the community, you want to empower the community
Yes.
to
Exactly.
also
Yes.
make money from
Yes.
the talent.
And look, they used Tyrone Trotman, who died
Yes,
earlier
I
this
did
year.
a lot of work with
and
Tyrone in my young days.
he made
Yes.
money in the hotels. There
Of
was
course.
Madame Yvette, and so people did monetize before.
Yeah.
But yes,
I
Maxine.
was going to give you another example because I well, me and my entrepreneur thing, but
Mhm.
there's an important element to film, which is if you watch a movie,
Mhm.
there are still photographs captured in movies I'm trying to remember what they call them, but so still, so you actually see an image. Let's say somebody in Barbados can capture images of the beach, of sunsets,
Yes.
of sunrises, of storm clouds, of whatever the case may be, and they can prepare a portfolio of these things and shop it
It
around.
is saleable.
Yeah, because you if you watch the credits and so on, you would see that. So, for example, the average Nigerian actor probably produces within a 3 or 4 year span. I mean, acts in about 100 movies. If you go and Google any of them, you'll see that the movies they
Why are
make,
they so popular?
because you have in Nigeria alone 300 million people.
Here they're popular too.
Because I watch them.
Over the last, you do.
I do, and I will confess that I did that, and I do that.
Is this a cultural thing? The cultural
What-
affinity?
Yes,
You watch
because
them
when
because
I
they're
watch them, the stories are relatable. They look like me.
Right.
You know,
cultural
because
affinity.
the cultural affinity.
Yeah.
Let's put the correct label on it.
Yes.
And the issues too.
And the issues
You
are very
watch it to
relatable.
Not all.
You
To the
abandon the
point-
cowboy pictures.
Not all. Now,
To the point where I don't normally watch a lot of North American movies anymore. I just find them
Yes.
interesting.
Yeah.
But then because I've been involved in the production of a movie, now you know.
Now I know.
Yes.
Give us the name, Maxine.
Joseph. I was one of the executive producers, anyhow. And because I got to know a number of people in the industry, etc., so I watch movies and I can say, "Oh, I know Molly Gabor, or I know Harold Emina, whatever." You understand?
You're a big
So-
director.
Exactly. No, but seriously, because and those are the connections that I'm talking about. But if you check the history of the film industry in Nigeria and Ghana, it has gone from some tacky films,
They become sophisticated.
yeah, to a whole range, and you know, so and they have been able to monetize them. They have made people make money from them because you have as I said, Nigeria alone is a population of about 300 million people.
Yeah.
Ghana is about 30 million. Then there's South Africa has its own film industry. Is a different the focus. I mean, these are and we can partner with them. So we have an embassy in Kenya. We have one in Ghana.
Correct.
You know, how are we leveraging that?
Yes.
The other big thing that we talk is fashion. You know, if you go and you look on again, you do the research, you will find that there's some the only yesterday I was reading of a photographer who captured a designer, and she, you know, this is a very famous Nigerian designer, and this was somebody from the West writing about her work and so on. So there's so much that's happening.
You know what you're really bringing out to us is that the arts play a leading role in terms of connections
Yes.
to other cultures, not politics. The arts.
well, I think
When Stephen was telling us that the artists started CARIFESTA, not
Yeah,
politicians.
not politics.
And that's
That's
so
correct.
important. Yes,
Yeah.
Dad.
we need to look at the information
Yes.
with a microscope
Mhm.
to determine whether or not it's doing what is required.
What is its mandate?
I can tell you history of it, so I can get into that.
Okay.
It upsets me very
Mhm,
much.
mhm.
But it's more about activities
Super facts, as Stephen said.
rather than
Stephen, are we correct?
The NCF?
Yeah. Has the
the-
focus gone to super facts?
I think the focus has been what the government want the NCF to focus on in terms of its own agenda,
Yes.
as opposed to
Political agenda.
developmental.
Yes,
political
yeah,
agenda, as opposed to developmental
Mhm.
reason for having National Cultural
Yes.
Foundation. If you look at the programming of the NCF, there's a huge amount of developmental work that happens in the NCF. I think the NCF is pulled and tossed,
Mhm.
certainly under this administration, to do an all kind of
Yes,
thing
yes,
That
yes,
is true.
that
yes.
really and truly don't
Revelry.
contribute to the development
Precisely.
of culture in Barbados.
Precisely.
You can argue that the gathering
Mhm.
is really an exercise. It is a canvassing activity.
It is. It is.
But the
Taxpayers' money
NCF
spent on
resources
authorities
are being
anyway.
used, are being stretched to do that.
Yes.
And they can't say no. They can't say no. They can't do it. So if you're doing,
Again, they haven't told us the cost, Stephen.
no, we don't have it.
But
You don't
but
have
they
the cost.
also haven't told you that it has been, as far as I understand, being assigned some activities related to small business development.
Right.
The IDC, which has now styled itself Export Barbados,
Okay.
is, I call it, has created a niche for itself in terms of this notion of export. So if you ask them, where do I go as a small business person seeking assistance? If you are not export ready or export focused, my understanding, you may be sent over to NCF. No, National Cultural Foundation, unless you're looking at something culture. So you mentioned to do whatever. And so that is something that I've been trying to unravel recently. What exactly, how are they supporting that, given all the other things that you hear them having to do and you know,
Yeah,
it's,
and that is why the culture industries has been de-emphasized,
De-emphasize.
because you put it under you take it from a dedicated entity
Mhm.
and put it under a NCF that is already burdened
With
by
the
all
super
of the
facts.
things, super facts and so on. And the artists are suffering, the creators are suffering.
But-
You know,
The NCF, its early foundations started the same way it is now. It's that exactly what it's doing now.
Mhm.
And we all keep forgetting that who the first director was.
No names there, Kathy.
We keep forgetting, and it's starting to get to where it's supposed to have gone.
Mhm.
Unfortunately, it's going back to where.
Yeah.
And it's
Yeah.
it's hurting.
Super facts.
And I can say that because the NCF was the main destroyer of community development.
Mhm.
It took all of the community development,
All of the resources, human and financial.
right, put them into the NCF. That's why you said going back to community development again, lost its way.
Before we started, Stephen threatened that he could talk for 4 hours. Unfortunately, we only have 2. Let us end on legacy. Are we able to identify any legacy from this CARIFESTA?
I think you better leave me with that. I don't know.
Okay. Okay, Stephen, you
we probably have
identify
some
any?
very expensive legacy myths
Uh-huh.
because we have
High
not
bill.
had any accountability.
Yeah.
I think certainly the 2 edifices that have been erected
Mhm.
would be
That's
considered
Waterford and Newton.
and Newton.
Mhm.
In terms of legacy, I think you have to dig a bit deeper than that. I think certainly Barbados will welcome a creative a center for creativity,
Yes.
but it has to be outfitted in a way that makes sense to the beneficiaries.
Mhm. Mhm.
And I would knock that.
Okay.
I would want to hear more details in
Mhm.
relation to what is intended. Because at the end of the day, if something is developed out of taxpayers' money for the
Mhm.
benefit of creatives,
Yes.
we embrace that. We want to make sure though that there's proper consultation
Mhm.
and that the beneficiaries understand it. I do understand that there's a concern from the creators in terms of both that facility
Mhm.
and the one in Waterford as to how will it be used.
Yeah.
Will it be affordable
Yes.
to the persons who are intended to use it, or will it be kept locked up half of the year and only open up at certain junctures?
Mhm.
So the utility in terms of whether the legacy will trickle down to the benefit of enhancing talent
Mhm.
and being there is left to be seen.
Yeah.
Those are policy disclosures that have to come from the government. But there are potential legacies in every CARIFESTA.
Yes.
And I can see that there may be 2. I want to hear more about it. I also feel though that my disappointment in terms of the legacy does not have to be a building.
Right.
Mhm.
Right.
A legacy
Can
can
be a
be
tradition.
how you craft your policy agenda
Yes.
to reap dividends
Yes.
by investing in the creative talent of individuals who
Excellent.
are themselves
Mhm.
advancing their own careers and so on. Because CARIFESTA parachuted into Barbados, but
Mhm.
you had people who were players in the sector
Mhm.
who are at the various junctures. At the end of CARIFESTA, they should be more advanced. That to me is ought to be the legacy of
Yes.
every CARIFESTA.
Yes. Damien, I know you did not attend.
Mhm.
This is a difficult question for you. This is a difficult question. Can you identify any legacy out of this CARIFESTA?
My view might be very controversial because I
Please
think
state it then.
I would say no, because you've not really included the people, the creative. You've not listened to them. You've not included them into how CARIFESTA should have come off to me. So once you've left the people out of the creative process, I don't see much legacy to have. All you just have is structures. And a structure is only a structure once it's just put there and just left. But if there's no proper planning, or there's no ethos, there's no consultation that goes into it, all it is a structure that's devoid.
No human development.
No human development, that's
Yes.
devoid of any legacy. So for me, there is none.
Maxine, legacy.
Well, I think, well, for me, I would ask the question of those who would have participated, what for them are the enduring benefits? Because we know what ought to be,
Yes.
and beyond the physical structures, and even those are still up in the air. I would, and clearly, in the absence of information about definitive actions to offer ongoing benefits to participants, whether local or regional, I can only talk about what we would hope to be. For example, I talk about the business of culture, the monetizing, the building of networks. To what extent has any of that been done? It was clear what the intention was back in 2017 with CARIFESTA 13. But I haven't heard that and haven't seen it reported. And the interesting thing is, you would hear noise about, we can't remember what happened in 2017, but I haven't heard about those things. And now is the time to tell us. We were able to bring in buyers, as Stephen did back in, or we were able to report that X number of artists, whether it's musicians or fashion designers or whatever, were able to meet and agree with so that is what I'm waiting to hear, because they will tell us what should be. I remember all the talk about the legacy flowing from World Cup too, and the amount of money that was spent, and the money, there was a huge sum of money paid to an individual who was supposed to be championing the legacy of World Cup.
Tonight we looked at CARIFESTA. We ended on legacy. Thanks so much for coming. Stephen, Derek, Maxine, Damien, thanks a lot for coming. We don't know. The government's legacy is one of a lack of accountability. They're not telling us how much they spent. We looked at the virtues of CARIFESTA, and we support CARIFESTA as a party. In terms of the party, on Sunday, we are going to be at Factory Avenue in Wildy. We did an excellent meeting last week at Bush Hall next to Howard Supermarket. The Democratic Labour Party is connecting with the community. Our candidates are out there canvassing. They better be. If you're not seeing your candidate, please call this office or the George Street office and ask for your candidate and summon them to your house and let them be seen in your communities. We have business to do. On Sunday, 5:30, Derek, Factory Avenue, Wildy. The speakers are Pedro Shepherd. Who are the other speakers, Derek? I think I'm among them. Ainsley Granger is one. Other speakers, we are not sure, but come to Factory Avenue. Felicia Dujon, Dawn Marie Armstrong, and Simon Clark. Really dynamic team. 5:30 on Sunday evening, Factory Avenue. We're coming to the people of Barbados every Sunday. We're bringing the issues to Barbadians. We're not only doing it on the LPTV, we're coming into your communities. And all 30 candidates, to be announced soon, the remaining 4 will be on your doorstep in your communities canvassing, because we intend serious business for this country. And we intend to bring Barbados back to where it used to be and to where it must and can and will be in future. Lady and gentlemen, thanks so much. We've had a good time tonight.
Thank you.
See you Tuesday next week.
Black man, you have a problem you can't afford to ignore.
your reputation and children's future at stake. The way you run your business, too often you're in crisis. You're dead and gone, receivers coming to take what you make. History so replete with black men who reached the top. One time in Cobalt Street, black business you couldn't stop. 50 years later, KR moving on. You know, all them black Barbadian businessmen born. Whatever happened to Rollock, who was in business when? The only store with an escalator in top 5 and 10. He should be on Broad Street with a vault of money or two, living on the interest, just like how them Indians do. But 5 and 10 gone, was it a question of negligence? I said no, it was just not incompetence. I'm telling you straight, that has made no sense. One thing with them Indians, they know how to sacrifice. Creep before you walk, that's the golden rule. And if he make $1 million, he's still driving the same Datsun. One wife is all he wants and he cool, he no fool. Black businessman Frank, the other way around. $1 in the bank, $1 million woman in town. Big time Mercedes to buy gas will make you laugh. He in the bank, he begging for overdraft. Too loud. Listen, black man, let me ask you this question. You really think success in business is having 10 women? Why not put the money in the bank for a rainy day? Why you buying honey when at home is free anyway? Spending your profit on woman, you got to be dense. All of that partner is and not impotence. I'm telling you flat, that has been nonsense. Business like a baby, you plant a seed and it grows. But comes a time the parent must recognize that outside help is essential for the child to be developmental. He must mix with the experience and wise, otherwise. So in business too, we know you plant the seed, but it is also true, special skills you're gonna need. So if you're a builder, stick to what you could do. Don't play, you're a big time accountant too. You know you. James A. Tudor, Black Barbadian great. Send the children to university, they graduate. Not in business admin, so that later James could improve. But in little language, not the way them brothers they move. Now all the shops gone, they vanish like when water condense. All of that partner is check the consequence. I'm telling you flat, that must be nonsense. no longer to hesitate. And you, Mr. Consumer, don't sit down there in a corner. The role that you must play is so very great. Appreciate how the Indian man, when you go to buy in the store, if the item is not on hand, he calling his friend next door. Support your brother, give him cooperation. Unity is a must now for the black man. You understand? In conclusion, let me make this one appeal. Learn from your mistakes, because who don't hear, you know they go feel. 50 years from now, when your grandchildren and them born, they must see the progress that we make when that we are done. Let's be progressive, show the world our competence. We could boast that we have dollars and plenty cents. I'm telling you, plenty cents. Dollars without sense. To have the Indian man coming here to buy up your land. All of that, father, is dollars without sense. You're driving Mercedes, but Mountain you're taking a squeeze.